If you've ever been ready to turn the bot loose, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. It is Tuesday, August 4th. It's a T3 Tuesday. We've got more earnings coming. How stoked are you folks for AMD and SpaceX tonight? It is absolutely going to be a good one here today. We've got a whole bunch of news to break down. We got a T3 guest here today. We're going to have Anne Marie joining us twice today. We're also going to have 13 check in. And oh, yeah, we're going to have a great Tuesday. And we are going to trade and make some money today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for August 4th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here, and I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday. We're back for installment 2 of this week, where we get more earnings, more profits, and more fun, hopefully, on all of that. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Let's kick this thing off with Pot G here today. Good afternoon, everyone. Pot G, you are first from across the pond. Good morning from the United States, but good afternoon to you in Europe. Thanks for joining us. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Always good to see you. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Alan, good morning to everyone. All I have to say is AMD. I'll tell you what, that's great. AMD's gapping up here ahead of its earnings. My only concern with this, and Alan, I love you, just playing devil's advocate here. We have seen that companies that run into earnings end up trading down when the print actually happens. So with AMD gapping up here this morning, does that make you more worried, less worried? To be quite honest with you, none of it is going to matter until we actually get the print. But earnings growth is leading the day. I mean, earnings growth is 40% or so this quarter so far. And that's up from like mid-high 20s% last quarter. So we're absolutely killing it. We'll see how AMD does here today. Janie, good morning. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, good morning. Welcome back. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. Jay Wild, good morning. Welcome back. Good to see you. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Including all the Palantir haters. That's a victory lap if I've ever seen one. Palantir absolutely crushing this morning. It is down from the high. So it printed a high of 147.51 and it's down here to 144. So it's carving out a range for today. We'll see how it trades. Ezra, good morning. Welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Love me some Palantir. Been loading up since the down. It's going to be a fun ride up. Oh, I absolutely love it. I love the smiles out there. Whisk, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, thank you for everything that you do. Richard Judge, good morning. Richard Judge with the Warren Buffett quote that I requote all of the time because it's literally like gold and helps me remember how to be a better investor and trader. GG, Warren Buffett, and good morning to you, Richard Judge. Liam, good afternoon and good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Linda, good morning. Daniel, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Brett, good morning. Cancel says, so tell me how Warren Buffett profited off situational awareness. Yeah, he didn't. Warren Buffett is sitting somewhere in Omaha wearing a sweater. He don't care about any of that other drama that's going on in the market. He's been doing this for what, 70 years now? 80 almost? Something crazy like that. JJ Design, good morning. Welcome back. Alex, good morning. Welcome back. DTAB, good morning. Tiffane, good morning. Robot to Trade, good morning. Astro Kev, great to see you. Good morning. Marionette, welcome back. Good morning. Brandy, locked in and ready to go. Let's go, Brandy. Good morning. Durkus, good morning. Chuck, good morning. Triniarch, good morning from Trinidad and Tobago. Love it. We are a global show around here. Good morning to you and welcome. Temptation, good morning. Alan says, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling AMD is just going to fly today and crush earnings. 600 is not out of the question. We actually had someone from our happy hour throw out an $800 price target. Got laughed at initially. Yeah, nobody's laughing anymore. He did also say that $800 price target had a 2030 date attached to it. It's 2026. We're not even that far away. We'll see. Bob, good morning. Welcome back. Barb, always good to see you. Good morning. Welcome back. EKS, good morning. Welcome back. Crankbait, good morning. Welcome back. And Richard, good morning. Welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get this Tuesday kicked off with our stock market today. All right, green on the screen ahead of Tuesday's open here. S&P futures higher by 0.34%. The Dow is higher by 1.1%. And the NASDAQ leading the way higher by 1.13%. Oh, by the way, oil getting absolutely smoked, down 3.58%, back to a high 70 handle. So things moving in the right direction for a positive day. But as always, keep your head on a swivel. We'll see how that shakes out. Now, let's take a look at what's going on here with the market and what to expect for today. Of course, we do have several stocks in focus here for you today. The communication services and tech sectors led the rally yesterday. Amazon surpassed the $3 trillion market capitalization for the first time, while NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, and Meta and Alphabet, META and GOGL, and Microsoft, ticker MSFT, all posted strong gains. U.S. stock futures edged higher on Tuesday, extending the previous session's gains after President Trump said he would halt further military strikes on Iran, easing fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East and sending oil prices sharply lower. The Dow futures rose about 0.2, while the S&P gained about 0.2, and the NASDAQ advanced 0.3. All of those are higher as of right now, as investors continue to favor risk assets. Wall Street rallied on Monday with the Dow Jones closing at a record high as falling crude prices and strength in heavyweight technology stocks lifted sentiment. WTI crude tumbled more than 5% to settle at 80.34 before moving to the downside more here today. And that came after Trump's comments signaled de-escalation intentions. Investors will now shift their focus to a fresh batch of corporate earnings, with Caterpillar, ticker CAT, and McDonald's, ticker MCD, scheduled to report before the opening bell, and Advanced Micro Devices and SpaceX due to release results after the market close. On the economic front, traders will also monitor June's factory orders and U.S. international trade data for further clues on the strength of the economy, while assessing whether easing geopolitical tensions continue to support the recent rebound in equities. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.69%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.26%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the markets are pricing a 62.7% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is McDonald's. I'm loving it. Ticker MCD. The stock was trading 1.25% higher in the pre-market as the fast food giant reports second quarter financial results Tuesday before the market opens. Analysts were expecting McDonald's to report a revenue of $7.13 billion. That's up from $6.84 billion in last year's second quarter, according to Benzinga Pro. The next stock on our list is going to be Caterpillar. The ticker is CAT. The stock was up 1.68% in pre-market trading on Tuesday, ahead of its second quarter results due before the market opens. Analysts expect the company to report quarterly earnings of $6.20 per share on revenue of $19.2 billion, again, according to Benzinga Pro. The next stock on our list is going to be Advanced Micro Devices. The ticker is AMD, and shares were up 2.34% in the pre-market trading on Tuesday as the chip giant gears up to report its quarterly earnings after the market closes today. Analysts are projecting second quarter revenue of $11.28 billion alongside earnings of $1.61 per share, according to Benzinga Pro. The next stock on our list is going to be On Semiconductor. The ticker is ON. The stock rose 8% to 86.50 in trading before the bell after the company posted strong quarterly earnings on the back of a steady AI demand. The last stock on our list is going to be Palantir, ticker PLTR. That stock climbed over 16% to $145.90 in pre-market trading on Tuesday after the company posted stellar earnings and raised its forecast. All right, let's take a look at the SPY. And folks, let's see if we hold here. In the pre-market today, we have printed a new all-time high. Now, I know. Technically, it doesn't count unless it happens in the regular session. Current price here is $760.39. Remember, the all-time high prior to this is $760.28. So as long as we open at $760.29 or higher, we have a new all-time high on the SPY. Now, how will this close will be really important. What we've been talking about for what feels like pretty much 2 months, right? All of July and all of June, we've really talked about this market here, or at least the SPY in general, moving sideways. Sure, there are some oscillations back and forth around some of these moving averages. There was a retest of support levels. There was retest of breakout levels. There was all of that you would expect to see in range trading. But now, for the first time, it actually looks like we've got our first inclination that we're going to break out of this range, and that move happens to be to the upside. What do we want to confirm this breakout? Well, we'd love to see some better volume. We actually traded the last 2 days, or actually last handful of days, we've actually traded at the average volume, which sits right around 50 million shares on the SPY. It is worth noting that this is down from 90 million in previous years, so there does look to be less participation. But this is marketably up from the 30 or so million shares that we've been trading on the SPY during this sideways area. So I would like to see more participation on a volume basis, and I would also like to see the candle close above that breakout level, preferably somewhere near the highs. That might mean we have some extension going in here, and if we get good reports tonight, you can imagine that that's going to carry over pretty easily to tomorrow's session. But a lot of caveats there. We'll see what actually shakes out. Now, let's actually start by taking a look at Palantir. We'll do a very quick peek at the chart because it is making an interesting move here. You can see the earnings yesterday. Initially on the print, we basically traded right up to the 100-day. I think we actually went to about 135 or so. 137. We went right to the 100-day. Then we drifted higher several times in the after hours. And so far here today, we've held it. So number one, for a trade idea, if you want to mark off the bottom here, let's call it 143.5. And also the top here, let's call it 147.5. Either way, Palantir breaks out of that channel, might give you a potential intraday trade. But on a larger term picture here, Palantir, a real good move. And this actually sets up a test of the 200-day. I currently have that value at 152.56. So stock's up 14.5%. It was up over 17% earlier today. If we continue to trade higher here, I do see resistance at 152.5, and that is equal to about its 100-day, or its 200-day, excuse me. If Palantir pulls back today, all is not lost. In fact, if Palantir pulls back and holds the 100-day, the chart's actually still going to look pretty good despite the candle closing lower than where it opened from. But we'll let the market tell us what it's going to do here. I would say 136.81, maybe call that 137 as some support here for Palantir. We'll see if we pull back or we get an extension. Acorns throwing his bet out already. It will pull back. Acorns, we need that Scooby-Doo meme where they rip off the face of the villain. We would have acorns on there, and when the face gets ripped off, it'd be Lion Atlas under it. That would be something else. Okay, I kid. Let's actually take a look at the Palantir report here. We'll go over the metrics first, and then we'll talk about some of the things that were said on the report. Palantir posts otherworldly Q2 double beat and raises guidance across all key metrics. I'm very confused because I was told that Europe was going to impact this. Whoops. Palantir reported second quarter revenue of $1.94 billion. This smashed analyst estimates of $1.8 billion. The AI software company reported adjusted earnings of 41 cents per share for the quarter, and that beat the estimates of 35 cents per share, according to Benzinga Pro. Total revenue was up 93% year over year in the quarter, as U.S. revenue grew 115% year over year to $1.57 billion. U.S. commercial revenue increased 149% year over year to $764 million, and U.S. government revenue jumped 90% year over year to $809 million. Palantir noted that its Rule of 40 score is now at 155%. Quote, demand for AI sovereignty has now been unleashed, and Palantir is the only company that has demonstrated it can transform tokens into actual economic value, end quote. And that came from Alex Karp, co-founder and CEO of Palantir. He goes on to say, quote, the quarter was otherworldly. Our U.S. commercial revenue grew 149% year over year. Our overall revenue grew 93% year over year, and our Rule of 40 score climbed to 155%. The sovereign AI revolution makes us very optimistic about the future, end quote. Palantir said it closed 220 deals worth over $1 million during the quarter, 98 deals worth at least $5 million, and 73 deals worth at least $10 million. Company is an absolute machine. Palantir generated $1.22 billion in cash from operations and $1.22 billion in adjusted free cash flow in the quarter. Palantir ended the period with approximately $9.2 billion of cash equivalents, and short-term U.S. Treasury securities. Palantir expects third quarter revenue to be in the range of $2.16 billion to $2.164 billion versus the estimate of $1.997 billion. The company raised its full year 2026 revenue guidance from a range of $7.65 billion to $7.66 billion to a new range of $8.15 to $8.16 billion versus estimates of $7.69 billion. Palantir also guided for full-year U.S. commercial revenue growth of at least 134%. This is up from the prior guidance of at least 120%, and adjusted free cash flow of $4.5 to $4.7 billion, up from the prior guide of $4.2 to $4.4 billion. Quote, every organization in the world is awakening to the risks of handing the creators of the language models and the keys to their institution of letting the models loose within their homes. The demand from our partners is clear, end quote. Karp said that in a letter to shareholders. So, oh my goodness, another huge beat here. Palantir is doing just fine. They are not sick at all. And the gravy train just keeps rolling here. Now, Alex Karp had some other things to say here. He ripped the Frontier AI Labs, said, accusing them of having Marxist overtones after Palantir's blowout earnings. He says that some of those AI models, the Frontier AI labs, want to actually colonize your enterprise. Palantir Technologies CEO Alex Karp reiterated on Monday that he believes AI frontier labs are not trustworthy enough for enterprise use. During the earnings call, following the company's robust results, the CEO argued that companies should support technologies that strengthen U.S. interests rather than benefit adversaries, while criticizing what he describes as a small group of elites controlling economic gains at others' expense. Karp argued that enterprises are effectively paying AI providers to use their proprietary knowledge and expertise to train models that could eventually compete with and replace their own businesses. He also claims some AI companies justify this approach as serving a broader mission they believe as morally superior. Quote, and why are they doing it? It's actually being done for what they believe are moral reasons. They are superior to you. They deserve to colonize your enterprise, end quote. And this is Karp saying that sarcastically about the Frontier AI labs. The CEO suggested in Palantir's quarterly shareholder letter that the AI business has, quote, Marxist overtones and undertones, end quote, arguing that unlike some large language model developers, Palantir does not seek to control its partners' means of production. Karp said that the company has consistently refused to adopt what it views as a parasitic relationship with partners, emphasizing that despite taking a different approach from much of the tech industry, it remains fully aligned with its customers' interests. Karp's comments underscore Palantir's push for AI sovereignty, which is making the rounds now, arguing that businesses should retain control of their data and workflows instead of giving AI labs access to valuable intellectual property with limited returns. Jack Bourne, that's almost as good of a name as Jason Bourne, I'm impressed, but Jack Bourne, an analyst for eMarketer, told Business Insider that Palantir benefits from positioning itself as a data analytics company that connects AI models to enterprise operations rather than building frontier AI models itself. While its accelerating growth challenges claims that enterprise AI struggles to scale, questions remain over whether AI would eventually replace the software layer Palantir provides as a factor that has weighed on its stock price this year. Palantir, of course, smashed second quarter expectations with $1.94 billion in revenue and 41 cents adjusted EPS, raised its third quarter and full year 2026 revenue above Wall Street estimates, and ended the quarter with $9.2 billion in cash and short-term investments. So Palantir, in the face of a lot of doubt, absolutely smashing it. Absolutely smashing it. Do not doubt this company. You will be sorry. All right, next company here is going to be Snap. And I'll be honest with you, I questioned if I was a boomer. Nearly 1 billion people use Snapchat every month. Is that true? I don't think I know anybody that uses Snapchat anymore. And that's coming from a bunch of people that have used Snapchat a lot throughout. I thought this was kind of like dying out. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I a boomer, chat? Say it ain't so, folks. Snap, ticker SNAP, the stock climbed nearly 9% in Tuesday's pre-market session after the social media company reported second quarter results that topped Wall Street's expectations and issued third quarter revenue guidance above estimates. Snap's user base continued to expand during the second quarter, underscoring the platform's growing global reach. Not glowing, growing. Although some of those filters glow, I think. Monthly active users rose to 971 million, bringing Snapchat within striking distance of the 1 billion milestone, while daily active users climbed to 493 million. The company said stronger engagement across products such as Spotlight, Snap Map, and AI-powered recommendations helped drive user growth. Snap reported a second quarter loss of 10 cents per share, which beat analyst expectations for a loss of 12 cents, according to Benzinga Pro. Revenue rose 19% year over year to $1.6 billion, exceeding the consensus estimate of $1.54 billion. Advertising revenue increased 9% from a year earlier to $1.28 billion. The gain was driven by stronger spending from large North American advertisers, international expansion, adoption of AI-powered smart campaigns, and momentum among small and medium-sized businesses, and demand tied to FIFA's World Cup. Other revenues surged 85% year over year, supported by growth in Snapchat Plus, memory storage, and Lens Plus subscriptions. Adjusted EBITDA jumped to $250 million from $41 million a year earlier. The company ended the quarter with approximately $2.7 billion in cash and marketable securities. Over the past 12 months, Snap generated $919 million in operating cash flow and $706 million in free cash flow, marking its 8th consecutive quarter of positive free cash flow. CEO Evan Spiegel said artificial intelligence is helping Snap develop products faster, improve user engagement, and deliver better results for advertisers. He said free cash flow per share has become the company's primary long-term financial objective. Spiegel also describes Specs, Snap's augmented reality glasses, as the company's largest long-term growth opportunity. He said more details will be announced at a launch event in Los Angeles on September 16th of this year. The CEO added that Snap's U.S. audience continues to expand. I'm shocked. Led by users age 35 or older. Double shocked. He also said that the company's AI-powered code reviewer now handles 90% of pull requests across the organization. Monthly active users increased 4% year over year to 971 million, while daily active users reached 493 million. Global daily active users grew by 24 million or 5%, and the trailing 12-month average revenue per user is $13.19. Spiegel said North American daily active users have stabilized as Snap continues to focus on improving user activation, retention, and engagement. He added that the company is monitoring the regulatory environment for potential effects on user growth and product experience, while customer interest in Specs remains strong despite the product being a high consideration purchase. For the quarter, Snap expects revenue of $1.7 to $1.74 billion, which is above the street's estimate of $1.7 billion. The company also projects adjusted EBITDA of $300 million to $350 million. Chief Financial Officer Derek Anderson said the stronger outlook reflects durable improvements across the business. He added that direct revenue is expected to continue growing materially faster than overall revenue beyond 2026. The company also plans to launch a multi-year share repurchase program in 2027 after completing its current buyback program in the fourth quarter. So let's just sum it up. This is your chance. Am I just a boomer and I just missed it on Snap? I mean, I haven't traded this stock in a long time. It actually has done pretty well on options in the past, but haven't traded this recently. Am I just behind the times? Corey here says, my kids still use it. I've never used it. I guess that makes me old. My wife chats with our kids who are in their mid to early 20s on Snap because they prefer it. Well, Corey, you could throw me into the old column with you, it sounds like, because I don't use this either, although I don't have kids that use it. It's interesting. Who thinks that there's actually a trade or an investment in here? My producer says barely use it, just every once in a while when necessary. Izzy simply saying, you old. Maybe I am. I like to think I'm wiser, but maybe that's not the case either. All right, you are not old, just seasoned. Okay, we're having some fun here today. All right, next piece of news here. AI chip boom could spark a $500 billion borrowing frenzy. That comes from Citadel. Now, we talk a lot here about the AI, I don't even know if I want to call it a race anymore, but the AI theme and all of that. A lot of stuff out there. Let's see what Citadel is saying here. I know Citadel is not necessarily the most trusted, but it is what it is. Citadel Securities is predicting that $500 billion of debt will be issued across public and private markets by 2028 to fund the chips powering artificial intelligence campuses. So let me just stop right there, because that first sentence there just tells me that, gosh, these AI chip companies, they are actually still really early. And you know what? Despite some of them pulling back, there might be another move going on here. It might not be over. The pullback might just be a opportunity to add some of these quality companies lower. Just throwing it out there. Most of the issuance will likely be shorter term with maturities of 3 to 5 years to align with the lifespan of AI chips, while some could come through Rule 144A private offerings, and all of this was reported by Bloomberg. Jeff Eason, head of investment grade desk at Citadel Securities, told Bloomberg that this has the potential to become, quote, one of the largest new sectors in investment grade credit, end quote. Since last year, the U.S. market has taken in approximately $60 billion of short-term debt with maturities of up to 5 years from hyperscalers, a fraction of the more than $250 billion Eason expects chip makers to issue in 2028 alone. Eason added that investors have not experienced this level of financing thus far. Approximately $570 billion in AI-related debt has been issued across global markets, largely from hyperscalers such as Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Google, which are all heavily investing in data center expansion, again, reported by Bloomberg. Should this reshape the investment-grade credit landscape, investors would need to reduce their exposure to sectors such as technology, media, and telecommunications in order to create space for the chip financing debt. Eason added that the wave of AI financing could do more than fund infrastructure. It could create a new benchmark sector while reshaping spreads, portfolio construction, and capital allocation throughout the broader AI ecosystem. Last month, it was announced that part of a $35 billion financing package backing Broadcom and Anthropic's AI infrastructure expansion was expected to begin trading in the secondary market in the coming months, with about $15 billion of the debt projected to be available to investors by early 2027. The financing deal uses a special purpose vehicle to fund custom AI chips that are leased to Anthropic, with Broadcom backstopping payment obligations on senior debt tranches. In 2024, Citadel announced it was launching high-grade credit. The firm traded roughly $500 billion notional dollars last year, and Sam Verberian, global head of credit at the firm, mentioned. So we'll see what this means here for the AI trade. I'm curious if this changes anything for you folks. To me, we are early and giddy up. Let's see how this goes. My head of content is Orion. He's a good guy. Okay, let me keep moving here. It's 7:30. We are expecting our T3 guest here soon. I got 2 more news stories. They're both really short, and this one, hey, this might ruffle some feathers. Let's see how it goes here. Kevin O'Leary says that AI data centers must earn the community trust or risk losing the fight. Quote, you can't tap the grid. Call that a tease in the industry. You're going to have to wait for the rest of that quote. Investor Kevin O'Leary said AI data center developers can no longer rely on communities to just accept large-scale projects without clearly explaining their environmental impact, infrastructure plans, and economic benefits. On Monday, in a post on X, O'Leary said, quote, data center developers have to earn the trust of the communities where we build, and that starts with complete transparency, end quote. He goes on to add, bring your own power, be clear about water usage and emissions, and create high-paying jobs and make sure the economic benefits are understood by everyone, end quote. Referring to his planned projects in Box Elder, Utah, O'Leary wrote, quote, we have work to do to earn the community's support, but the facts will be public, from water to power to jobs and tax revenue, end quote. In a CNN interview, O'Leary endorsed journalist Joe Nocera's call for greater transparency, saying, quote, yes, he is 100% right. He's right, end quote. He argued developers have to bring down your energy going forward. You can't tap the grid, otherwise prices go up in the local community, end quote. He also said newer technologies have reduced the environmental footprint of data centers, explaining that modern cooling systems recycle much of their water. O'Leary added that the project's water permit, quote, will detail, exactly how much water is being used, end quote, while dismissing concerns that AI facilities consume excessive amounts of water, saying, quote, basically, data centers today use as much water as a golf course does, end quote. And they can pry those golf courses from my cold, dead fingers. The AI boom is reshaping the data center industry as developers struggle with rising electricity demands, limited grid capacity, and growing public concerns. Earlier, Hyliion Holdings, ticker HYLN, their CEO Thomas Healy said that many data center operators are turning to on-site power generation after being unable to secure enough grid access, with long interconnection delays becoming a major barrier to AI expansion. Meanwhile, NVIDIA Corporation, ticker NVCDA and NVDA, and their CEO Jensen Huang said space-based computing could eventually help process AI workloads closer to where data is generated, but challenges including cooling, launch costs, and infrastructure make widespread adoption years away. Cue SpaceX and their earnings report tonight. We'll see what kind of fantastical things are said on that. Billionaire entrepreneur Mark Cuban argued that backlash against AI data centers is not only about energy use, but also reflects broader concerns over job displacement and wealth inequality. He said companies need to improve communication with communities and invest in local support as AI transforms the workspace. So good to hear O'Leary say this. I think everyone probably agrees, but O'Leary has a lot of haters out there, so wouldn't be surprised if there are people on the other side of this. By the way, we do have a poll up today. Be sure to vote in our poll. I believe this one is the SpaceX earnings poll, and we only have 3 options for you here. There's nowhere to hide. Are we going to be lower, higher, or are we going to stay the same? Please vote in this poll. SpaceX, one of the most popular stocks that we currently talk about right now. Would love to get a really good sample size there for our writers to create content around what you folks think ahead of the print. That would be fantastic. Okay, how are we doing here on time? It is time, folks. It is a T3 Tuesday, which means it is time for our T3 guest. And it's one of your guys' favorites. Let's go ahead and bring on Charlie Moon. Charlie, good morning. How you doing, boss?
Good morning, Ryan. Am I really one of the favorites here?
Absolutely, you are. People say, Ryan, that is a great guest. Ryan, bring Charlie. Look, Charlie, you deliver the goods. You also talk and look at all of the stocks that we look at on a regular basis. So despite it being early, you're always prepared and ready to go here. You absolutely are.
I appreciate you, brother, and it's always great to be here.
All right. Join Charlie Moon this today. Okay, let's check that there. Join Charlie Moon today at 7 p.m. Eastern for a live look at the 4-step AI strategy he uses to find high probability trade setups across the entire market in seconds. QR code on the screen. Don't be shy. Here we go. Bob Walk. Charlie is the GOAT. Up 30. Charlie is my hero. All the T3 guys are as smart as a whip. So Buffalo by Bicycle trying out for his next role in politics as he comes next here. Also, we do love the hat around here, by the way, Charlie. So really good stuff here this morning. Okay, let's get down to market here, to the market. Happy SpaceX earnings day. Hopefully I'm the first person that said that to you today. Otherwise, you got some pretty awesome friends and family. Let me just get started with that right away. Do you have any gut prediction on what's going to happen here? And if you're not thrilled about giving predictions, I understand. How are you looking to synthesize and then play the earnings tonight?
I think that right now it's kind of being propped up to drop. Now, the residual concern more for SpaceX is more about the lockup after earnings. I don't think people are really expecting much. At least they shouldn't. They're going to be announcing that they're burning cash. That's not a surprise. They're going to raise capital. It's going to be interesting in terms of future reference with data center segments, what their plans are going to be with future launches. Obviously, when they talk about XAI, which I believe they're going to talk about their metrics, that's probably going to be their biggest cash burn. It'll be interesting if they talk about X.com, and if that generates a profit for them. In relation, I think that's going to be one of the things that could kind of surprise the markets. And certainly if, like, let's say they talk about ad rev numbers, especially with ad rev numbers being strong for some of the hyperscalers, we've seen it with Google, a pretty surprising number from Microsoft. And again, if ad revenue numbers come in good, that could be the one catalyst that is going to help them. But, we've seen this environment just punish companies that talk about CapEx expenditures, with the exception of Amazon. They're the one that's been able to kind of withstand we're going to raise more CapEx than expected kind of announcement. And I just feel like SpaceX is not going to do much. But if there's going to be a big move, because of the valuation, it's going to be up then down. This is set up very similar to how Palantir had responded to earnings. And I was doing media, and one of the suggested trade ideas that I had was a strangle this week for the 140, 112 on Palantir. So, this was where the move was greater than expected. I could actually see Palantir going as high as around 150 by the end of the week if the momentum sustains. But, this is kind of setting up for that similar, situation. There's an expected cash burn. There's really not much in terms of expectations. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe expectations are through the roof because it's their first earnings. But I just think that if it's not as bad as expected, per se, they're not going to burn as much cash as expected. And, let's say ad revenue is really solid for X. I think that's going to be a really big catalyst for SpaceX in the near term.
Okay, that you bring up a really good point there about all of that. First of all, I completely agree with you. I think that this is primed to move down. And you know what happens when all of the traders, or a majority of the traders on one side, what happens? You guessed it, the other side. So I completely agree with you. The big move would likely be to the upside if we do get that. I think it's a little too set up here for maybe a put trade through earnings. And also, if we just take a look at the daily chart, it looks like this down move has finally started to slow down. So it looks like, maybe it is set up to do that. Now, you bring up another really good point there with the X subscription. First of all, full disclosure, I pay for X. It is without a doubt the best news source that you can get. It blows everything else away by a unbelievably huge margin. And the X subscription also comes with access to Grok's or SpaceX AI paid Grok tier, which I also use quite a bit here. It'll be very curious to see what kind of numbers end up coming out of that. We already know that Starlink is a very profitable business. They use Starlink proceeds to fund these different launches, which are huge cash burn events. And the other comparison that you brought up there was to Amazon. And I think you're spot on there. I think the big difference here, Amazon has proven in its history, it can turn the profit jets on whenever it wants. It might spend $200 billion on AI chips and all of that, but if it wants to make money, it will. And SpaceX hasn't shown us that yet. So very, very curious to see how this shakes out here. I have no position for earnings, full disclosure. I'm not going to take one. My trade plan on this is as follows. I still think we eventually see 80, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point 80, 85, and I'd be looking to add there for a long-term hold. So, okay, really good stuff there on SpaceX. You also threw Palantir in there, which of course is popping here. I think you mentioned 150 by the end of the week. We've got the 200-day at 152.5. That to me looks like the next area higher. And one of the things that I said earlier is that even if Palantir pulls back today, all is not lost looking at this chart. A pullback here and a hold of the 100-day moving average at just about 137 there would still actually set this up for a move higher, and I would still target the 200-day in there. Do you have any trades going on Palantir here today?
Well, again, I think the initial one, a lot of my students are already pretty long. They were eagerly buying up that 140 as soon as I mentioned it. And, it made a lot of sense to me. Again, there's definitely some protection, but the breakout was through that 138 zone. That's where it's really struggled over the last 2 months. So if it's going to pull back, that's the price that I would love to see Wall Street step in. Anytime, especially with the kind of adequate, what we will call floor trader levels. Floor traders, even now to this day, still love to reference the extreme. So when they reference old highs as support, as a point of value, it's a really bullish sign. You could really kind of translate that to day trading, whether it's a 3-minute time frame, the daily chart, even an hourly. Anytime that specific price of the extreme is the reference point, and it's the inverse. So it becomes resistance, becomes support, bullish. Support becomes resistance, that's bearish. And I actually move it to the threshold of being extremely bullish. We'll see a pretty violent reaction off of that level. And if we don't, and we tend to trace back, that's when that break and flush out tends to happen. So, if it pulls back to that 138, 139 zone, that's really where I want to see buyers step in. I would love to see it really just blast through this 147 level that it was ticking up to. But I think today that's going to be a difficult threshold. I think a lot of the attention is going to be on AI plays. SpaceX, obviously, AMD today. We're seeing all the optic plays flying today. And, speaking of the AI program, we took on a position in GLW. I really loved the performance yesterday. It's currently up around $11, $12. So we should be cashing at the open. We always have a limit order target. So, for me, seeing the rush back into not just the mainstream AI plays, but it's really the growth segments. It's all these, smaller cap, mid cap type of stocks. When we see the optics flying, when we see quantum moving, this is when we know the sector is generally healthy, and we see that bullish thesis. Now, I want to kindly remind people, because this is where people get trapped. When we get into a fairly bearish state, the bounces, the rallies tend to be stronger than what you would, typically see. And this is kind of what draws people in. And this is what leads to really big flush outs. Now, I really certainly want people to take advantage of the upside. I think I mentioned it before, but anytime, the markets go up and AI stocks goes up, it's like everybody, including Wall Street, drops what they're doing and rushes to buy the AI stocks, But the whole reason why it's been going down is because of valuation concerns. And some of that concern obviously was relative to the Fed, but it's really relative to the Middle East. Now, the conflict's still happening no matter what President Trump is saying. Iran is not showing the same thing. There was videos and rumors. I don't know if it's been substantiated, but drones attacking the U.S. base in Kuwait. That's essentially what they've been doing. They've been trying to find these like pockets of weakness where they can make a little noise against the United States. But, President Trump keeps insisting that they're going to negotiate. The Wall Street right now is pricing like negotiations are going to happen because crude is down and AI is up. And, just at a moment's notice, this could just flip on a dime. So people just got to be prepared. We don't want to be married to one side right now. Just ride the momentum and ride the wave while you can.
That is extremely good advice. Look, I'm a simple guy, Charlie. I try to let the market tell me what the cues are. I try to not go too deep in rabbit holes because God only knows where I'm going to end up there. Here's what I've noticed about the Middle East stuff. No matter what you feel about all of this, no matter what you know to be true or think to be true or all of that, here's the simplest way to break it down. When President Trump talks about things, the oil market moves. When the IRGC talks about things, nothing happens. And so to me, this is very, very easy calculus. Now, with that being said, you're absolutely right. It is imperative that all of us stay nimble because one post, one missile, one new development can change everything that you have spent time preparing for. So stay on top of that. Another thing I really wanted to mention here, you had talked about GLW Corning here. Folks, this is a really good graphical representation of exactly why we pay so much attention to the 200-day moving average and what that value is. This thing had a huge momentous run to the highs, a very, very steep pullback. and then a recapture of the 200. Now we're actually gapping right to the 20. Congrats on the trade there, Charlie, on this one to you and everyone else out there. It does seem like the AI trade is still here. It seems like the AI infrastructure names are trading back up. Here's the $64,000 question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you think that this pullback here was the end of something, or maybe just kind of a break or a reset in the bull market that we're currently in?
Yeah, it's funny because there's so many things that have floated. We talk about X. I don't use any other social media site. I don't really pay attention to mainstream media, and no disrespect to the cable shows and whatnot. I purely source all my information from individuals that source it from where Wall Street gets it. And for me, that really cuts down the noise.
Absolutely.
We know that from a statistical standpoint, the Qs dipped their toes in correction territory. They flushed out, closed on the lows, and they've only gotten up since. So, this has kind of been that residual effect of, buyer demand at the most, I guess, extreme point that they could have gotten into. Now, part of it obviously is going to be really attributed to the news. Part of it is attributed to the Fed policy. Ultimately, this really just comes down to the fact that we are extremely bullish state. The SPY made new all-time highs and closed at those levels yesterday. The Dow and IWM has been continuously holding up better. It's really only been the NASDAQ and the AI stocks that generally has been in trouble. But even now, the NASDAQ, yesterday at the open, a lot of the AI stocks tanked, which generally would have tanked the Qs, but the Qs actually held up well, refused to go negative. They fought at that closing price. And this was really largely attributed to the Mag 7 names that are now starting to do the heavy lifting. Amazon was breaking out, Google was rallying, Microsoft, I think, jumped $10 in the first 10 minutes of the day, if not more. And Meta as well has been screaming off the lows. And so it's almost as if they were the ones that got the bus rolling down the hill. And now, all the AI stocks are just piling in and adding weight and really just kind of carrying that momentum further. So for me, it's really good to see kind of the sympathetic and more of the correlative idea. We've seen segmented rallies, right? If it's not AI, then it's software. If it's software, cloud, cybersecurity, essentially. Even the hyperscalers were kind of on the other side of the AI play, because ultimately, if AI is going up, it means that the hyperscalers were spending more and they were retracting, and it's almost we were sacrificing them to the bullish gods to get the AI stocks up. And now we're seeing a little bit of a merriment of getting everything collectively rallying. And this is when we're going to be in our most bullish state, which, by the way, we are absolutely at some point really primed to see just an extremely broad explosion. People don't realize that with this buildup, with this retracement, with this pent-up demand, that if somehow the NASDAQ could break out and sustain, and there's really no catalyst to bring it down, we certainly have way more upside than people could suspect. It's surprising to hear that, traditionally from, let's say, the last 20 years, when the S&P and the NASDAQ gains 5 to 7% on the calendar year, that was pretty good. We're going to perhaps see that in the Qs effectively in a month, if not less, where we're gonna knock on the door of tacking on 7 to 10% at the highs. And that's just the pent up, demand for the AI plays. It's really traditionally more now that retail traders are starting to take more control of the markets than previously before. And then you throw in the idea of the new PDT rules, where people are just going to kind of just jam it in, and they're effectively kind of causing these little gamma squeezes all over the place. And this is just a huge recipe for an explosive move. And, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but it's really possible at some point this year, if all the stars line up, that we could just see that really just nasty explosion come into the picture.
Yeah, it's funny about that. First of all, with the Qs, you were talking about this dipping and really moving here. We actually have a level for that. It's 686, 686 and a half. SPY or Qs traded down to that and just rallied all day. Now, the cool thing about what you're saying here about the market and all of this move higher, Tom Lee very early in the morning was on CNBC yesterday saying that from here, this was yesterday, so from August 3rd, he expects a pull down in the SPY to roughly about 7,000, but then 8,000 by the end of the year. My napkin math tells me that's 14+%. And we're talking in what, 3 months? 4? I mean, that unbelievable moves there. Be ready, be nimble, no matter what happens. I don't know what the future holds. I asked the 8-ball to tell me. It gets it wrong all the time, but we're going to stay nimble. We're going to do the best we can. Okay, really good stuff here, Charlie, on all of this here. I did want to ask you about AMD. You were talking about how this is going to report earnings here tonight. Do you have any thoughts here on AMD?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I ask a question. Does anybody have? I asked my room. Does anybody have any questions about AMD and for earnings? And nobody really answered, which already tells me I already know which way they're playing, which is going to be the upside. And that's again, it's going to be the crowded trade. I do want to throw caution into the wind because certainly they've worked up a lot of news and deals. The news in particular is talking about their new gen, what they're going to be manufacturing. This is where it concerns me because one, they should blow out numbers. Number two, they should blow out guidance. And if they don't, that's already going to be a problem. That's going to be the reason. Sorry, my dogs are barking.
It's okay. We're a pet-friendly show here.
Yeah, that's going to be the reason what drags AI down because obviously they're one of the bigger players out there. They're not the biggest, but one of the bigger ones. I think it's actually going to be interesting to hear if they're going to have to raise CapEx to basically spend more money to make more money in the future. And I'm not sure how Wall Street's going to digest that because that's exactly what Intel said, and that cratered Intel. That's what TSM said, and that cratered TSM. And so, like I said, it's almost a extreme probability that they're just not going to beat numbers. They're going to blow out numbers. It's just the question of, are they going to have to spend more to, develop that future revenue on their forward guidance? And that's my concern because I think that's the only thing that's going to be able to bring AMD down. I think that what's really important is that AMD, I believe, is pricing in somewhere around the $40 move. If they close at around $500, let's say above $490, being at $490 or higher from a charting standpoint actually allows them to go as high as $560 tomorrow. And that's kind of the sweet spot target where if I was to kind of make what would be a YOLO play, a very short dated risk, I think those are going to be trading around 250, depending on where we open or where the price trades. That's a $250 risk overnight to take a shot to see if it could flip into $1,200. And, that's really where the sweet spot target to the upside would be. Now, if they disappoint, this is where we could actually see it drop to the expected move, which would probably put it around 460. There's a possibility that it could fill that really negative gap down by 430. That was the candlestick where the Qs had entered into correction territory. It closed right around 430. It gapped up to 460 the following day. That could be the quote unquote downside target as well. And, obviously those would be two extreme moves. So, if I was to play AMD, quite honestly, I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs in one basket. It's going to take a lot of risk to make a lot of reward. Essentially, this is going to be, if you take one contract on both sides, you buy into the 560 calls, the 430 puts, it'll be $500 at risk overnight. Now, this is how you have to approach the trade. You have to literally feel like you're pulling $500 bills out of your pocket, light it on fire, like you literally torched it. This is going to help you sleep well at night. and then you wake up, or you'll know after the close, but generally you'll wake up and hope to see that the $500 magically reappeared with a bunch of their friends at their party. So, if you take that attitude and that approach, say la vie, this is, you take risk. It's a very short-term risk. Some would call it a gamble. I call it calculated risk because we know what the projection could be. We know what outcomes can be. Now, the worst case scenario is that it balances and doesn't do much, but you can still retain some value. But ultimately, if you just take the approach that money is gone, you just are in a better mental state and you're more than prepared to actively manage your position if it does work out.
Okay, really good stuff there. I can appreciate the visual there of lighting $500 on fire too. That helps drive the point home there. I got it. Folks, join Charlie Moon today at 7 p.m. Eastern for a live look at the 4-step AI strategy he uses to find high probability trade setups across the entire market in seconds here. Charlie, we've got just a couple of minutes left here. Do you have anything else that the group that you either want to talk about or that the group should have on their radar here for today?
Yeah, I mean, with obviously Hut's earnings today, HUT, they've had a negative reaction. This is where we're going to be watching the sector early. Names like IREN, Cypher will be another one. Charlie India, Foxtrot, Romeo, Riot. Everybody knows those. APLD. We're going to have to see how Hut reacts because we could effectively see all these AI plays. HUD is down quite a bit to 107s. If they really kind of balance here at 105, in my opinion, maybe at 103, and they can make that transition, this is where I could see a very explosive leap right to 112, right up to 117, and then it probably comes right back down. If the AI play is going to be up, then these are the names on pullbacks that you're probably going to want to target. Now, obviously, if it's crashing down to 105 and it doesn't take a break there, you probably just want to bypass it. But a lot of these stocks that people are going to be looking to, like AMD, Intel, maybe people are looking at Marvell and ARM, because of the progressive moves, because of the pre-market moves, they're going to break down. There's a chance that they may not recover. I've already warned the room today about being overly bullish. We've seen essentially like almost a 3-day rally in a lot of these names, and the percentage gain, the point gain is quite tremendous. And again, we're in an environment that still remains that brought all these stocks down. So you just have to be very conscious and very protective. Now, you don't certainly want to manage with emotions. You do want to trade with clarity. These are things that I try to teach, signs of strength, signs of weakness, when the dynamics turn, when to be protective, when to be a little bit greedy. Today is probably going to be a day where we want to be a little bit protective. We don't want to just fall into the trap again of having these just one-sided expectations, because if you're caught off guard and these stocks start getting too deep, the losses could be quite significant in a very short period of time. This is the most difficult market condition that you're ever going to face if you're new or as a veteran. In my opinion, as a trader, I've been around since 2007, and for me, this just seems like some of the most difficult conditions because everything is unpredictable overnight. It's news driven. There's so many variables to account for. There's so many names that are very active. And so, you just got to remain laser focused on your positions. You got to remain laser focused on the market sentiment. And again, greed is really going to punish you. Being protective. Listen, live to fight another day. This is the time to survive so that you could thrive when the market rallies. People think it's the opposite right now. And I am telling you, take the attitude of survival. Capital preservation is number one, first and foremost.
Yeah. Amen to that. I have been saying that for as long as I have been doing this. I say that on days where people make 1,000% gain because they bought something crazy. It's just be careful. Know what you own. Do all that. Really, really good advice. Charlie, great stuff here today. Thank you very much for everything. I hope that you have a wonderful day here today. Look forward to checking in with you next time. All right.
Yes, and to you, brother. Go Cubs, man. All them trades look great.
Dude, they got an A from me on the trade deadline. I'm out there watching the Dodgers game. I'm watching the Dodgers take a 3-run lead in the first inning. I'm like, okay, at least they had a good trade deadline. And then them bats showed up. Them bats showed up. 4-game losing streak for the Dodgers. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Let's see how it finishes up. We got to catch a game sometime too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Charlie, have a great one, man. Stay green.
See you, man.
All right, Charlie Moon from T3. Told you guys, T3 guys are awesome. I'm glad that you folks absolutely love that. Charlie Moon, thanks. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie is the GOAT. I love it. I absolutely love it. Really, really good stuff out there. Charlie is the man indeed. Okay, really quick, I do have 2 tweets that I want to get to, and then we're actually going to get to Anne Marie early. What's going on? Trust me, it's going to be awesome. Y'all are going to love it. But before we do that, street tweets right now. All right, guys, here's your first tweet. I just got to take a sec before I read it to you. Jim Cramer said he's reportedly selling all of his Bitcoin, and this is per CoinDesk. Folks, we are so back. We are so back. Thank you, Jim, for doing this. We really appreciate it. We will take this as a signal. Thank you very, very much. I joke, I'm in a really good mood here today. But anyway, Jim Cramer said he's selling all of his Bitcoin. So if you use the Cramer indicator, let me know how you're trading that. Producer, next tweet. All right, next one here is a little bit lengthier. I tried to ask Charlie this. He gave me a great answer. Citadel says the July reset the bull market. It did not end it. And this is exactly what I was asking Charlie. This is exactly what he was somewhat hinting at, that, hey, there could be a huge move higher here if a number of things happen. Citadel's Scott Rubner said July's sharp sell-off in sector rotation cleared out excessive positioning without breaking the broader bull market. We're going to ask Anne Marie about what she thinks about this comment here in a sec. She doesn't know yet, but we're going to ask her. Retail investors turned net sellers. AI and semiconductor stocks were heavily sold, and leveraged ETF assets fell by more than $60 billion from their June peak. July did not change the structural bull market. It reset it. End quote. That was from Rubner there. And he added that investors can now focus more on company fundamentals than positioning. Sounds like he's saying that the market might make sense. Here's the attached graphic for that. If he's right about this, oh man, if he's right about this, 8,000 not out of the question by year end. And if we get another bull run here, oh man, the end of this year could be awesome. And I'm not talking about football. I'm talking about the market. So, all right, folks, let's get back to Benzinga Pro here. Oops, sorry, producer. I don't know if I did that or if you did that. We'll fix it. Awesome. I clicked on the wrong thing. Your producer sitting back there like, would this idiot stop clicking on stuff? I got it. It is what it is. All right, folks, let's go ahead and bring on Anne Marie and see how she's doing here today. Anne Marie, good morning. Okay, I clicked it. Okay, Restream. Okay, Restream. Well, we are just out here having trouble, Anne Marie. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Man, it was so great to hear what Charlie had to say. I am just 100% in that camp of be wise and watch your risk. Certainly got some great nuggets for us, as usual.
As usual from him. Yeah, and, he was talking about how this market is difficult. I could not agree with him more. That's largely why I'm trying to code a robot to do the trading for me so that I don't have to. But that's another story here. Anne Marie, let me just really quickly get back to the question here that I said I was going to ask you. Scott Rubner from Citadel said that the sell-off was not the end of the bull market. And in fact, it is just kind of a reset for the bull market. How do you feel about that?
So, I think we have to think about that in 2 ways. We have to think about how might the Citadel, I should probably not even give them a V at the front to make things a little worse, but how might Citadel want to frame all of the things that it comes out with? So something very interesting might be a little bit of a chat thing that said, all right, give me the last 50 posts from Citadel and let's match them up in terms of bullish or bearish. and what the tone is. So the big reason they might think that is because we had this big flush coming into the end of July, really solid selling, bigger volume than we'd seen in a really long time, months and months. And then the market held the floor and turned around, and we moved literally from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. Now, if he had come out 10 days ago, say, or 6 days ago, and we read what they might be saying about what's going on at that point, it'd be interesting to see if it's a flip of the script. But clearly, when that big flush came and everybody decided to go long, there was a lot of buying. ES futures contracts were 48,000 to the upside in positive flow the very next day, which was gigantic. And what we did was move from the bottom of a wide range and through it, now up to the top of that range and also through it. So the question is, how much energy do we have to continue upward flow? My thought is, you know what, dips or buys, they're going to rotate. But just like Charlie said a minute ago, what's actually materially changed? Except potentially headlines and news flow, which have nothing to do with the tangible events. So good companies are going to continue to hold their pullbacks. Bad companies are going to continue to move their sell-offs. And in the meantime, shows like this keep us on the right edge of that's not got good flows, or that's not got good fundamentals. We just need to stick with the ones that are going to pay us in the direction that we're moving.
Okay. All right. Really appreciate that. Von Rivera, I love this. Citadel bought the bottom with the Leopold guy. Now, of course, they're bullish. So that's just very well summed up there, Von. I can appreciate that.
Fortune favors the bold.
You got that right. Fortune favors the bold indeed. Okay. Folks, just a really quick reminder here. I see several people asking 13 schedule changed just slightly. And guess what? We should all be happy for him because he's spending more time with his wonderful family. So let's leave it at that.
Love it.
Thankfully, Anne-Marie has been so kind to volunteer to join during this session or during this section so that we can try and give you a variety of different chart breakdowns here. So this is day one of this. This is how I think this is going to work. Anne-Marie, you tell me if this works for you. We're going to take tickers from the chat here, and we're going to have you do your TA magic. So if you want to share your screen, that would be great. No need to set up option trades just yet. You do have that segment coming up later, so maybe we can take some suggestions for that so she can prepare. That would be awesome. But in the meantime, right now, we're going to have Anne-Marie do her technical analysis on the stocks that you folks want. I see someone asking about Disney. Maybe we should start with Disney. While Anne-Marie is breaking down those stocks, I'm going to go through the movers list. I'm going to take a look at what's moving. I'm going to take a look at the reason it's moving. I'm going to have AI help me determine if it's BS or gold. And then we're going to take a look at the chart and the catalyst together. We're going to go back and forth and try and maximize our time ahead of the bell. Anne-Marie, does this work for you?
That sounds fantastic.
Okay, fabulous. Fabulous. So go ahead and share your screen. We'll start here with Disney, and we'll just kind of break down what the chart is telling us, right? We don't need to force it to say anything. We'll do exactly what it is telling us. I will start here with the movers, and it looks like I will start breaking down MOVE first here, which is Corvex. So, okay. Let's see here. We'll wait for Anne-Marie to share the screen, and then we'll go ahead and throw that on here. And then we'll go ahead and get started. Boom, boom. Here you go. All right, Anne-Marie, what do you have for us? This is Disney.
So Disney has been in the exact same range since March of 2022. So this has been dead money since then. Now, it's right in the middle of that patch. If you love Disney, then my thought would be, how about waiting a hot minute until it gets down into $82. That bottom of the range has been absolute gold. They've been selling it every time it gets to 125, selling it when it gets again to the retest of 120, and then literally chopping its way down into the low 80s where the traders try and find a bid again. So quick flash there. I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole if I'm looking to buy. I also wouldn't touch it if I'm looking to sell because it's sitting in a very choppy zone, a very, very choppy zone. And so my thought is always risk first, and then reward will come. So I've got an alert at 83. When it goes off, I'll put it up in the chat someplace and we'll look there. And if it runs without us because the market's headed off to 8,000, this thing just does not have, I mean, think about all the trouble that Disney has, right? They can't make money any way they're going. And it's just a little bit of a mess right now. And so it's just a range-based event. Could you sell an iron condor way in the future? Yes, but maybe we can look at that. But that has been dead money for 4 years.
Okay, so looks like it will still. Lion here saying, "I will not touch Disney even with Ryan's money." So that ought to tell you everything that you need to know. Okay, really good stuff there on Disney. Folks, what other stock would you like Anne-Marie to break down? Anne-Marie, I'm just going to prep you with some of these. It looks like Eli Lilly is on there. AMD is on there. Palantir is on there. I'm going to very quickly talk to you about what's happening here on Move. Then we'll go back to Anne-Marie here. Move is actually at the top of our movers list. The company's name is Corvex. The catalyst here is Corvex shares are trading higher after the company announced it signed a multi-year agreement to provide clusters of NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs connected with NVIDIA's Quantum 2 InfiniBand networking to a leasing AI company. This has all of the AI buzzwords that we would be looking for, frankly, to make a stock move. You can see the stock is up 81%, and it was up over 100% earlier. But looking at the chart here, we have very, very simple levels here today. We clearly have a support that the pre-market has been obeying that is right around 18. We have a trend line that connects our pre-market highs here. This gives us a target out of the open that's $2 above the VWAP. So actually a pretty good setup here for move if this is, in fact, going to move intraday. We have a large, wide fair value gap down here at the bottom. I'm not sure that I would feel all that great about trusting this because if we test that fair value gap area, that means this triangle will have broken down, but we'll see on that. A quick peek at the short interest on this name. Negligible, 0.34% of the float is shorted, 1.94 days to cover. This shouldn't matter at all. Float on this name, 27.26 million. So it's not even considered low float. Remember, our threshold for that is 20 million. We are slightly above it, but it's not overly huge here. This is fundamentally good news for Move, but it is not automatically bullish for earnings or cash flow. What the PR means here is that Corvex has expanded its existing customer relationship into a larger multi-year contract to provide that NVIDIA equipment. So it's definitely positive, but it's not totally transformative yet. Stock's up 80%. We'll see how this one trades. So that is Move, your first mover off of the list. Anne-Marie, I'm going to go back to your screen here. Let's see. I can't quite read that type thing.
It is Move.
Oh, okay. So you have Move on here.
So the big thing to notice is we had a very high, wide range candlestick that's got the high. That's the same pre-market high that we hit, $26.70 or so. Something pretty important for us to consider in terms of looking at the price action itself. A move that's 50% is a pretty big move, just saying. And so that's important in the overall consideration. Notice that 26.72 is the very top end, and we're falling under that VWAP. So, this is certainly gambling man's territory, but certainly a pullback might give you a nice buy zone. Might be a good idea to watch settle because maybe some folks are just unwinding short action position.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff there on Move. Got a bonus there. There's 13. Move struggles to hold above 23. And actually, if you look at the daily chart, 25 is also a very, very sticky resistance up there. So definitely some areas to mind there. Now, Anne-Marie, what did you want to do next here?
Let's look at Lilly.
Lilly, perfect. LLY.
So Lilly, it's very bullish. Remember, I've been talking about why healthcare might be a go-to space to fish in terms of looking for things that might stabilize over time in terms of upward flow. And there's been a lot of motion in there, right? There's been we've had some big deals go through here, right? So Lilly is actually, it did trigger something, a level just a couple of days ago. It triggered the 1150 zone, and now we're sitting right at a key support range. So the question is this: how do you want to integrate with Lilly into earnings, right? That's on the 5th. That's tomorrow. We could take a look at the overall motion for the last year. Let's go to a 5-year one. The big thing to look at is, what's the overall trend of this chart? It's been up. Lilly's been acquiring. It's gangbusters with whatever their GLP drug is called. I have no idea.
I think we're on tirzepatide right now, but I could easily be wrong.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So whichever it is, I don't want to start bleeding from the eyes or
the
having
gut.
to wear an adult diaper. So I'm going to stay away from those.
I am with you. I am with you. Pass.
So what we're looking at, though, is really solid form. The question is, what have they got in the pipeline? I don't know anything about pharma, but I do understand this flow, and it's been very bullish, and it's been dip buying. But look at the size of some of these dips over the last 6 months or so. The last major dip that we had, oh, for heaven's sakes, is really, it almost moved 50% from its range, right? It went from this low of 623 up to 1150, and then came back down to 650. So, 850. So it really has pulled back a lot when it does pull back. So the question is, how do you know when it's going to pull back? My favorite thing to do is get wide angled and look out and say, you know what? I need to look at a 5-year formation. I need to look at a weekly formation. I've got it for 5 years. And what I want to look at, if you really want to get all super nerdy, there is a linear regression curve of 21 that you can find on your Thinkorswim platform, and you just want to watch it change slope at the end of the week. What that means is, has my chart, and here it's still sloping upward. So the pullbacks are still going to be buys. When it stops moving upward, you're going to fall into a zone. And when it starts rotating over, it's going to find lower support. Where might that support be? I love the earnings candles. Look at it right now. The weekly earnings candle that we're sitting in at this space is colliding with the earnings candle from 2 earnings ago. So if we fade, we've got pullbacks that go literally all the way to 850 if we lose the range of this motion. And what we've noticed is this chart, when it rotates, it really pulls back a heap. They're not afraid to sell it off, but they're always buying the dip. So that's the key thing to notice from this perspective. Put some alerts on there. If you want to chase this up, You can, but we're just not in a space where chasing does much more than open up risk.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that I've learned after over 25 years in this business, you stay in the business for a long time because you focus on, if I take this position, where is the hammer going to come for me? And have I managed my risk appropriately?
Yeah, that's literally exactly what I do. That actually keeps me out of trades, what you just described there, because I'm worried about what that hammer is going to do to me in some cases. That's very well said. Real quick here, a couple of things. First of all, great breakdown there on Lily. Can you remind me what that line was with the slope? That is a very, very actionable thing to throw on your charts. That is phenomenal. What was that again?
It is the linear regression curve, and I'll show it to you. Let me take this off and I will show you.
And whenever it's sloped up, pullbacks are buyable. If it's sideways or down, they're not. That is as simple red green as it can get.
Exactly. Now, the way big money uses this curve is, and let me show it to you. I use a 21. And the way big money uses the linear regression curve is the following. They look at the slope, and then based on that slope, they wait to see it expand. Sometimes it's 2%, sometimes it's 3% away from the curve in down or up, and then they'll cover their position. If they're trading in the direction of the curve, they'll put on an inverse position if they're trading at the inverse of the curve. I would respectfully request that no one trade the inverse of the slope, because slope is your friend, slope and trend, they are your friends. So it's just called a linear regression curve. And I use the 21. You can use all kinds of things, but the moment it starts flattening and you move under that edge, it's going to be looking for support. So I like to put a bigger moving average or a bigger curve that lets me know, wait a second, what's the big picture? Ideally, if you're new to the linear regression curve space, I would use one curve and then a simple moving average. So that big moving average you might put on would be, say, something like a 30 simple moving average.
Okay.
And I'll show you how that looks, but it really is quite gold. It's lovely. And it's simple.
Yeah.
If you're looking for simple.
That's my favorite. I'm always looking for simple. EKS mentioning the slope of the curve is the first derivative. I love math. I love math so much. Okay. Do you have the moving average on there? I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm just having trouble seeing it.
I put a 30 up there.
Okay, perfect.
But you could put a 20, whatever it is that feels good to you. Listen, trading is not a space where you color in the lines all the time. The only line you have to color inside of is your risk line.
Yeah.
But you can be as innovative as you like. Let the chart tell you a story that makes sense to you, and you'll get good at the game. You just need to have enough money to last through.
Yeah,
learning.
absolutely. That's why we say protect your capital is the most important thing. Okay, next here for the movers, this is going to be AMIX, AMIX. This is Autonomix Medical. This is actually moving here, so I'm sorry I couldn't get to this a little bit sooner. It is moving right out of the fair value gap. It came down nearly to the bottom end of it. It actually found some support at the 15 EMA before curling back up here. Currently at 545. We do have a target there at 580. Next target up here would be 650 by my guess here. Here, really quickly, just take a look at the daily chart, folks. This is what this stock likes to do. So let's not buy the siren song, if you will, on this one. Let's keep in mind where this thing is coming from. Now, there is a piece of news on this, so let's go over that. Autonomix Medical expands precision neuromodulation platform with broad new U.S. patent supporting nerve sensing, mapping, and targeted therapy. Sounds good. I'm not a bio guy, but it sounds good. This is strategically positive, but financially neutral in the immediate term. So what does that mean? First thing I want to do, check the financials tab on Benzinga Pro, select balance sheet. Stock has, or the company has $7 million of cash on hand. So my first question here is, does this solve their immediate financial needs? The answer is no. Immediately, this solves nothing. Intermittently, this might be fine. The company's last reported financials are still weak. No revenue for fiscal 2026, a 16.7 million net loss for the year ended March 31st of 2026, 12.3 million cash used in operations, and a 67.1 million accumulated deficit. There's 7 million on their balance sheet. The company's going to need money. So big move here today. We're up 51%. We'll see where that ends up going. As far as the levels go here, I do have 579, which is your VWAP as level 1, and then probably 650 as level 2. I'm not sure we get higher than that. I can refer to the daily if we do start to break that. But keep in mind here, even out of this curl, out of the fair value gap, we could not even really test the VWAP. So this curl here, this might be over. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to talk about the float on this one. Micro float, thank you, 13. Micro float here, under 1 million shares, so it could get crazy. And as far as the short interest goes on this, 11.75%, 1 day to cover. So it does have some, despite not being a whole lot. All right, Anne-Marie, we've got 2 minutes left. Is there any other stock you want to cover here? We've done Lilly and Disney so far. Any other ones you think might make a good breakdown? Oracle,
Yeah,
AMD?
super quickly, we
Okay.
can look at Palantir because
Perfect.
it's run like a scalded dog out of the gates. And, the 150 level that Charlie had is fairly solid. Here we are coming into the space. My thought is we're sitting in a potential recovery zone. Palantir really, it was facing a lot of headwinds, looks pretty good now because it's coming to the bottom. It held that 117 area, just did not retest it, and now it's breaking all the way to the upside. Here's the thing, flat VWAP in general, and this is a monthly VWAP because we're looking at longer ranges, but intraday, if you're interested in trading this guy, it's sitting right up at the top. Dips easily could be buys. This candlestick, the first 15 minutes of earnings, that's 135. If it holds that floor, could be off to the races. Just if it loses that, you want to watch out.
Okay, 13 here says Palantir got to one of my resistance levels last night, which is 142. Next level is the 200-day simple moving average, and then 160. Remember that 200-day, I actually just had it up here. Why can't I remember numbers? Because they all change, and there's a million of them. 152.5 is the number there on the 200. Okay, Anne-Marie, we are open here today. If you want to head out and do what you need to do, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, let's see what the opening print gives us here. SPY, new all-time high, folks.
Yep.
New all-time high. By the way, did see a piece of news right before we opened here. I'm going to read it to you so I don't put any of my own spin on it. Oh, gosh, but now X is lagging and I can't find it because there's 8 billion other posts in this thread. Damn it. I'm sorry, folks. I had it here. I don't have it anymore. I apologize. Oh, so, Anne-Marie, it's frustrating.
So super fast. We have two things to watch right now. We just broke through the call wall. That's at $760 in SPY. And then we've got our first pivot to the upside at 761. So again, what do we look at? Same linear regression curve. Right? It's going straight up. So it's got bullish flow on it. The dips are buys. Where do you want to look at? You look at the edge right near that linear regression. That's going to give you your support, right? That's right around that 760. It's going to be that call wall breach. Notice what happens on a call wall. Everybody sees it. Guys at the top going, ooh, we're going to break this. Market makers and dealers that dole out who gets long SPY options or long SPY stock, they are sitting there with their portfolio book. If it breaches that 760 and continues to rise, the market makers and dealers will have to buy the SPY moving up so that their books have a net delta of 0. Because if your bot goes out and buys a call right now, the dealer is net short.
Got
So
it.
he's got to go out and buy some SPY calls. Excuse me, some SPY stock.
Yeah.
And the longer it stays above that 760, the bigger the move can expand. So be careful. Don't, if you're thinking, ooh, this is the top of the range, it's already broken through the first pivot. The next pivot will be at 764. But as always, there's going to be a lot of chop around that 760. So
Okay.
that's what I'll leave you with.
Anne-Marie, really good breakdown. We're going to see you in about an hour.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Awesome. Look, I can't thank you enough for doing this. Thank you for being so flexible and so helpful to our community. You're an absolute angel. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I can't hold a candle to 13, but I can pull in and shine some light where
Okay.
possible.
I like it. Anne-Marie, we'll see you coming up in an hour here.
Okay.
We'll check in with you in a little
everybody.
bit. All right, folks, that is Anne-Marie. Thank you for that. Thanks for the help breaking down some of those pre-market moves. By the way, AMIX, which we just talked about, this is into a halt. Your halt time, 9:31:30. So if we're expecting a 5-minute halt here, this should be out at 9:36:30. We'll see what's happening here. Market is continuing to trade up. We are at the highs here on SPY. Looks like 762 is coming. All right, let's take a look at the rest of things that are going on here. Let me thank you for the chat, for helping me out here. Kathy, Voyager. So I know space is kind of a theme here with the SpaceX earnings report. Voyager, look at this. They reported earnings yesterday, better than expected Q2 financial results, raised fiscal year 26 sales guidance above estimates. They play the Starlab commercial with the CEO every day on CNBC. This basically took out the pre-market high. This looks like this is rolling higher here. Voyager, this stock finally able to get out of its own way. SPY continuing to trade higher here. It does look like 762 is coming, and we'll see what we get next here. All right, things are rolling fast here. Guess what? It's time for 13. American Nightmare. You can not despair anymore. He's here. He's here. 13. Good morning. How are you?
There we are. All right, there we are. I wasn't on there for a second. Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Hi, Dr. Nick. It's going really good. IDAI popping here. Have no idea what's going on, but we'll take it. IDAI 330s now.
Oh, give it.
And I'm looking, by the way, just as kind of a reminder here, I'm looking to trim some of this at 4. This is a position that I've held for a long time. I've actually been underwater on it for a long time. So if we do get to 4, we're going to trim some there and make sure we get some of those gains booked. But I'll tell you what, things are a go here today. Yeah. Things are a go here today.
Yeah, it's a lot of risk on. We're seeing all the space, quantum, the battery. Look at Bloom Energy. That's up again. Everything's looking really good right now. Kind of makes me wonder if we should be a little bit careful with all this upside we're having here. But that's just me. When we see things looking this great, I get a little nervous. Good morning, everybody. FCUV, that's one of the ones we were trading last week. Let me just look at my notes here because I forget what that one was about, but that was a mover from last week.
Yeah, it was. Actually, here, let me put that on screen here. Didn't this move?
That was
yesterday?
They also had move yesterday as well, but that was the one that had the launch of God, my writing's so sloppy on this.
No, you're right. This started on Friday. Yep.
Yeah. They also had the reverse split. This one is under the $5 million MVLS. Yeah, we talked a lot about this one. Very little debt on this one too, but also a micro flow at 600,000 shares.
Right. Sorry about the dead air there. Apologize. Palantir,
AMIX
by the
open.
way. What's that? AMIX is open. Let me go back to that. Palantir, by the way, 151.
AMIX coming up to the pre-market highs, approaching them.
Yep, $7. Christoph mentioning that SpaceX is flying. That is straight up. That's going with the broader market. Velo also flying, by the way. Kathy said, for Voyager, I bought when Mark Wayne Mullen disclosed a purchase. I've been underwater until just now. Okay. Good way to play that there, Kath.
Oh, nice job there, Ellen. You just did a quick Amex trade.
There we go. Here, register rings. And then I think I missed a register ring for somebody else earlier. You will not be denied your register ring, by the way. Who was that I missed? Lion, I took 189% profit on Palantir calls. LOL, the evil company. Take that, put that money in your pocket. Lol, lol, lol. All right, what else was going on there? Retro, ring it, baby. Sold Palantir for 30 points. That was the one I missed. Retro, you will not be denied your register ring today.
Barb mentioning CoreWeave, broke 90.
Hey, let me pull that up.
Lots of stuff just flying today. Yeah, fill in tech name is flying.
Fill in tech name. I love it.
One name I was looking at, well, that I own, ClearSecure, that reports tomorrow morning. We've been in sideways consolidation for a while. I'm very curious to see what we end up getting with that. I was trying to bring it up because it had has that Medicare.gov login verification angle.
No, and I saw your message and I was like, this is a great question to ask Anne-Marie. We ran out of time, but you know what we'll do? We'll see if maybe there's an options trade to do when she comes back here at 13. Really, really good reminder. I'm sorry I couldn't get to that early.
Amex, by the way, we just went right to the pre-market highs, barely, just a tad bit higher, and then we're pulling a bit here, but we're not breaking down beneath the VWAP yet. So we may just get a little bit of pullback here before we try and hit that 750 area again. But we'll see if we get this price to hold. We don't have any closes up above 645 yet. So this would be the first today if we do get this close on the 5-minute candle. ARM up 11%. Well, that's great because that needed it.
Yeah, 13. Can I put a chart on the screen here, or should I just leave the scanner on? I need to step away for just 1 sec. Do you want me to leave AMIX since this is popping to the highs?
Whatever you want to put on here. I mean, it popped to the yeah. Go ahead and leave it on there.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I'll be as quick as I can.
Yeah, this one, it went to the highs where it was in the pre-market. It's coming back in, so we'll see if we can get this support. I really would like to see this hold above the VWAP because if we do get that hold, then there's a chance that this can still go higher. We do have a slight trend line here. We'll see just how steep this goes. Yeah, I'm not sure. If we hold VWAP, maybe we hit this trend line here. I'm just using the two highest wicks from the pre-market. That could give us a bit of a target in the 9s. Not sure if we'll get that there, but volume continues to expand. If we continue to hold above VWAP, I'd say it's a possibility. But we do have to hold above that VWAP. Looks like after this morning pop, things are starting to come back in a little bit. And what else is, so things are kind of coming in, but holding above VWAP for the most part, it looks like. I'm looking at a lot of different names. They've had a pop, but they're holding VWAP. PLTR just rejected R1 pivot at 152. Let me pull up Palantir because that's actually, so 152, right in the area of that 200-day SMA. That value is actually 152.59 I have on my chart here. We hit a high of 151.89, so less than $1 away from running into some resistance there. Also worth mentioning that the RSI is starting to get a little elevated. We're not overbought yet, but we are getting up there. Still have the 200-day SMA and 160 as my next resistance levels for Palantir. We'll see what happens if we get up there. All right, so we're just getting a little bit of a move off of those highs. Still getting some support. We'll see if that holds up. If we do get this hold, this support, around the VWAP area, hopefully above it, could set us up for some higher moves. Also have to watch that volume. Velo chugging back to the teens. That's right. It's coming back up. The whole space sector is getting a lift with the direction that SpaceX is going. I see lots of green on the space list here. Ones that aren't green today, well, so far, are going to be AAOI, HWM. Carmen is basically flat. Sirius XM is just down by 0.5%. Viasat is the one that's down the most at 2% down.
Good stuff there, folks. We are confirmed. Bot is live and just took its first trade on NVIDIA with real money. So this is no longer a paper thing here. So that's working. Okay. SPY here looks like it did stop at about 762, although I got another indicator here for a buy. So it looks like it's going to try and push higher. We shall see. AMIX, did this halt? Yep. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit late here. This resumed at 9:36:30, rehalted 4 minutes later at 9:40. So we're looking at 9:45:21 as our next unhalt time. Move is being mentioned in the chat. Sorry, 13.
Nope, that's what I was going to look at too. This still having a hard time with VWAP. It's just kind of the price has been suppressed by it since we've been out of the gate here. Coming down to the 65 EMA, looking for some support at that moving average at EMA. We'll see if it gets it. Really, I think the story here is we need to get back on the other side of VWAP if we're going to see some more upside. And you also have $18 as a pretty big support, now turned resistance level. We just kind of really lost that level out of the open here. And I think if we do recapture VWAP, that's going to be the resistance level to watch, $18.
Okay. Good stuff there. G-Man mentioning that NBIS and AMD are monsters here today. Here's NBIS. We continue to trade higher.
Yeah, and AMD coming back over 5.
So let me ask you, 13. Let me ask you a real quick question here.
Sure.
What do you make of AMD trading up and today and yesterday and effectively running into earnings? What do you make of that?
Well, we are kind of coming back into the sideways consolidation. I'd say if we were like higher than that, I would be more concerned of profit taking happening after earnings. I don't know if we might get that. I think it would kind of depend on where we close, but it seems to me like we're still kind of swinging back up towards the upside. And I think what's going to really be the big determining factor for me is if we can get back above that 50-day SMA. I'd say if we close above that, regardless of what happens with earnings, we could still trade higher. But I think there's a lot of sellers right in that area, right about that 520 area. So that's kind of the concern that I have right now is that 520 level. You see that right there?
Yeah, 520. So it's basically just a level there, not necessarily. And here's what it looks like on the daily chart, by the way. So you're clearly running into a resistance area there.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of what I'd be concerned about is if we can't get back above that 50-day SMA and recapture 520, I really don't know. I'm not going to make an earnings prediction. I set a long-term horizon on this, and my next trim area is going to be in 700. So we'll see if it gets up there.
Okay, really, really good stuff there. AMD, we'll see how this goes. Also, really quick update here for those that are interested in the bot's performance. Now that we're on live, when it sends an order, I see it on my other computer in Thinkorswim. I see the active position, confirmed working. And the other really cool thing about this, it allows me to control it from my broker despite the bot placing orders. Another push higher here in SPY, 762.38 going to be your high print. I did get another buy indicator there, although I'm not taking the option trades.
Getting a lot of, not a lot, but I'm seeing, some continued weakness here in some of the names that started to pull. Need to see some support kick in here. AMIX opened, went lower. It's trying to fill the gap it just created from the halting. Move was mentioned earlier. That looks like that's starting to turn around now after getting support from the 65 EMA. Still have that $18 handle. I think is going to be a problem. If we get some more volume expansion and get through 18, then this may go on a bit of a run.
Okay, really good stuff. SPY new highs. Trade that the bot has taken here. NVIDIA, new highs. Here we go. Here we go. God, part of me right now is just tempted to just flatten the trade, book it as a gain, and say the first trade the bot ever took on real money was a green one. Do I do that, chat, or do I just let it run and risk it? I want the bragging rights. What can I say? Nvidia continues to push here. Let's actually check on Palantir. It looks like that did stop at that 152 level. So the levels that we gave you early from Charlie as well as from the 200-day moving average ended up being pretty awesome. Look where that stopped right there. Damn, that's good.
So when it's okay when it comes to what happens next, if this doesn't get past that 200-day SMA, are we going to see some selling? Are we going to see some weakness? I think if you want to remain bullish, you're going to want to see this thing hold, in my opinion, the 140s. 142 is my level. I could see this maybe coming, down beneath that slightly, but I think you want to see this kind of hang into the 140s if you're looking for more upside.
Gotcha. Okay. I love this here in the chat. You can't lose if you're a green. Fact check accurate. Why not use a trailing stop? Because I'm impatient as hell. This is a cool project, and I'm like a kid in a candy store. I don't think that logically. Lion says, Ryan, take your gains.
Pot G, best comment, I think.
Ryan, stick to your rules. I agree. And the rules should do it, right? Like the rules should handle it. The good said the same thing. Just let the bot do its thing. You're right. I just want that first trade to be green. I just want it to be green. Okay, what else do we have moving around here?
It's like a weakness in some of those quantum names right now. Starting to see a little bit more selling in the space names. So this is the concern that I had with this pop out of the gate here. If we see some selling and if that continues. Some names haven't completely come back in, so that's good. But we need to see some support in those names that are selling right now.
Okay. We'll see if we end up getting that.
Alan, I'd say that you watch the show. I'm just kidding.
What if I told you I own AMD, SpaceX, and Nvidia and bought them at a decent price too? That would be we would all be happy about that. Is the answer?
No, if you already own AMD and Nvidia, then I already know you're doing pretty well. SpaceX, I mean, I think we still have yet to see some of the best prices. But where we've come down to has been pretty attractive in the short term.
Rigetti, this did come back in actually beneath the VWAP there. Was there a specific one that we were looking at? Was it IONQ?
I've basically been keeping an eye on INFQ and Ionic.
Okay, I was going to say Ionic actually worse here. Let's take a look at INFQ and see what that's doing here. INFQ also pulling back here.
Yep. So they kind of, a lot of these are just kind of giving back what they popped up with. So let's see what happens when they come back to where they started and see if they turn around. Because it's interesting with Ionic in particular. We had a big green candle out of the gate, and now we're taking the three red candles down to the same area. And I'm just kind of thinking, well, we might end up with a bar hold, and in which case we should get another green candle after this current red one. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Okay. All right there, and I did flatten that trade. So the first trade there was in fact green. Boom, boom, boom. We will take it. We will take it. And we'll see if we get another one here as well.
No such thing as a good price in SpaceX. Maybe not yet, Dara, but there will be.
SPY, another push to the highs.
Yeah, and so here's Ionic. After those three red candles, we're starting to get a green one. We'll see if this turns around and starts recapturing those levels. The current resistance that I'm looking at right now is the 65 EMA, and then you have the VWAP up in the 40-80 area. So we'll see if this current candle can get the volume to take us back up. That's what I think it's going to be about right now. Is do we get that volume?
Sorry, one sec here. I'm just monitoring this because it's actually on real money.
Good to see that we're starting to get recovery in Chewy. Still in that one.
So what's the deal here with Chewy? Are we at a buy spot on this yet or what? I feel like this thing is really kind of struggling to pick a direction. Like it looks like it wants to trade up, then it reverses, trades sideways, pulls back. Where are we at with this?
Well, it really had a big sell-off earlier this year. It took us down to 1740, but we've been recovering since the end of June. We're just coming up to some pretty heavy resistance in the $25 area. So, if you were to be a buyer, I think that time might have passed for the moment. I'd like to see if we can get through this consolidation from earlier in the year where we went sideways, like in the first quarter. That's really the concern for me right now is, are we going to be able to get back up through that? We also have the 200 EMA in the way as well. So just, I don't think that this is the time to be getting into this if you're looking to go long with, how the RSI has been coming up and we're coming up into resistance. But I think if you're looking at, if you have a longer term horizon like I do, then you're fine. But I'm not buying right here.
Yeah, to me, I'm with you on that. It looks like really this area here is what we need to clear out. Top end of that, just shy of 28. Okay, good stuff there on Chewy. All right, what else do we have going on here, real quick? And folks, just discovered a new thing here. I actually flattened the order in my broker, and the bot actually didn't pick it up. So I am fixing. Oh, it's actually already fixed. Thanks, Grok. Thank you. Okay. I'll let you know if we get another entry there. Looking for our second one. What else we have here? And I didn't see anything off the unusual options, but I admittingly had not been watching it as much.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen here. It seems like the decision's about to be made on the direction. Ionic still not able to recover after the selling, but we're still hanging out at the same area where it opened. So just not enough volume in some of these names. Meanwhile, you have Palantir right up at the 200 day SMA.
Palantir, we'll see if we end up breaking through that. The bot did try another trade there on NVIDIA, but immediately got stopped out on that. Hey, I like that, though, because that is actually listening to my risk rules.
There you go.
Cool. Any word on Now stock? Is it a buy? NOW, how do you feel about software is my question there. Now's actually been a great trader for us recently. It does look like it kind of put in a bottom here too. Like this action on the daily looks like a bottom is put in. I think kind of like Chewy, this is actually struggling to break out of this range just so far. I'm thinking maybe 120 would be your spot to break above that.
Hold on.
Let me know what you think on that, 13.
Yeah, because I think I'm just looking at a couple of things here because it's looking to me like somewhere in the high 130s might be a problem. I think that's kind of what I would go with here because when I look at the weekly and the monthly charts, you have a bunch of moving averages and former resistance, support turn resistance levels in the high 130s to low 140s. All that's right in there. So if we do get this move up and we manage to get beyond 125, which I think is the current resistance we're looking at,
okay,
that would be the next area where I think there could be some sites of rejection is in the high 130s, low 140s.
Okay. We'll see if we end up getting that there on Now. There we go. Jaquimi, let me know if that answers your question. Good breakdown there, 13. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Here's Amix, by the way. So we had that nice little pop there. Grats to anyone that traded that. This came back to the VWAP, lost it, and is actually struggling to get through the VWAP. So that's definitely going to be a level to keep an eye on here today.
Volume in both Move and Amex, just not what it was out of the gate. So until we get that expansion again, I don't think we're going to be pushing those levels just yet that we were at when we opened.
Okay, and here's Move. We'll see if this ends up holding its 1523 area. Boy, I tell you what, we broke out of that triangle that we had identified there in the pre-market quickly. Ondas 8 calls. These are the ones for December. Interesting. So this spiked 9 and pulled back, but it held that opening range. Let's watch how Ondas trades here today. NVIDIA, hey, chat, glad we took the gains manually. You guys that were telling me to do that was right, although the bot did take it again and stopped out of it, so it would have figured it out. But nonetheless here, NVIDIA pulling back. Let's see where this settles here after that initial opening push. And also looking at the SPY here, a little bit of a rollover here on SPY. I did get a sell all indicator. It's basically at its 9, I think that's no, not the 9 EMA, beg your pardon. I think that's the 8 EMA. It's actually breaking through it at the moment. So we'll see where SPY ends up going here as well.
Notice that there was some talk about some of the mining names, and I think that we're going to likely continue to see some more attention being paid to those, and not just the really good ones like FCX or NEM or AEM, but also the more speculative ones like critical minerals and USAR. Those have been getting a lift too, and we are, starting to see some increasing tensions with China again. But it's the Trump-Xi meeting is still on. But I think that from now until that meeting happens on September 27th, which it's scheduled for, there's going to be a lot of tensions rising. I think that, and it's going to have a lot to do with, I think, the critical minerals. Since that's what the 1 year truce that they made last year was all about. So as we approach the end of that 1 year truce, I think we're going to start to see a rise in those stocks again, those critical minerals names.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that this is something that we kind of need to time based on the comments that we're hearing, or is this something that maybe we can kind of prepare for by adding now and just kind of waiting it out?
Well, it's probably something that I would say is better. If you're going to try and take the trade, your opportunity might be, starting or have already started. We just recaptured the 20-day SMA and USAR. We're coming up to a resistance level. So I'd be watching to see if we can get back above that. It's still a kind of recovery. You have, and the RSI is low and the MACD is starting to curl. So it's looking like things are trying to swing to the upside here. But I think we just need to really pay attention to the news and what's going on between the U.S. and China meeting again, as well as the rhetoric. That tends to spook markets when we start throwing things around like new tariffs and trade restrictions and all that. But I think as we approach that deadline, especially when we are discussing trade restrictions with rare earths, that's what really gets these going. And we've started to see USAR in particular lift up ever since the end of July. We're in a new month now, and it's just, I think it's just something to watch. But to answer your question about is the time to get in now, I would say maybe, probably, if you're going to take the trade, then buy now, get it if it comes in. But I don't want to give any.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just wondering if this is something that is like headline driven. And boy, oh boy, Glenn said, "Geez, put fibs on the USAR weekly." Here it is, bro. That is exactly right. This 0.786 level is massive support and resistance and previous resistance. Good call on the fib. I basically just drew it from the chart low to the chart high. We'll keep using these levels. Good stuff there, USAR.
Yeah, I just think that we're going to see more and more volatility increase in these names as we get closer to that date. We're probably talking about it pretty early right now, so it's still subject to going up and down a lot. But once we get those headlines coming out about these trade truces or the trade truce or these trade talks are starting to go to the wayside, I think you could see these names really begin to pick up then. Okay. It's just not really in focus right now, I think.
Okay. Well, that's another part of the reason why I wanted to ask if we should position early, but that's a really good, thorough breakdown there. Palantir here, folks. This is through its 200-day moving average now. Now what we need, this is good mention, Golden Brown. What we need here is a closing daily candle above that level. That's going to be the next thing that we need to see. Great that it's peaking above it now, not out of the woods yet. Let's see where it closes here today.
160 is your next resistance.
I think I have a personal record for unrealized gains in my portfolio today. Can I get a Chewbacca? I appreciate that because you're not trying to dupe me into giving you an earlier register ring. You're actually asking for the Chewy sound. You shall receive. Wis mentioning NUWE, which is on the movers list, but we didn't cover it here today. This looks like this just tried to take out those highs there. 240 still seems like a resistance here, NUWE.
Thoughts on Owl? Blue Owl Capital. This is approaching the 200-day SMA, and it's starting to get overbought, or it's actually overbought now. This isn't the most overbought it's ever been, so still could go higher. Maybe you see a 12 print before the sellers or the profit takers really start to kick in. But this is getting extended, and it's coming up to a big area of resistance. So I don't know how much more upside you're going to see before this, before you start to see the profit taking occur. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm seeing from the daily chart here.
Okay, here is your daily chart here. To me, 13, I mean, I can actually see a resistance area here at about 1150, maybe 1160, but it does look like it's at least broken out of this sideways area down here, and it looks like that breakout spot was just about 11. So I think the move here today is a decent one, but to your point, it looks like there's some immediate resistance right above where it's at now.
Yeah.
That it's still going to need to work through before this really maybe returns to what it was. I mean, look at the move down that this thing was in a 20 handle when it really started to make that move down. Plenty of space here.
Looks like we're getting a little bit of movement back into some of those names that we're selling off when we were talking about, like the quantums and the drones and the space. Looks like there's another move, a turnaround move happening here at the moment.
All right, well, I'm just going to take a look at Ondas here. We talked about this spiking out of the open, returning and holding the area. To your point, 13, it does look like it's curling a little bit here. Did you have another name that you wanted me to check out?
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the more popular names of in those sectors we've looked at. So Ionic, Inflection, Velo, Redwire, all those, Bloom Energy, even though that's more of a fuel cell name. But all the Ondas, all those are kind of in the same, they all had the same theme at the same time. So they've all kind of been moving similarly together. And it looks like because it was more risk on, I think that's when we see the risk on, that's where they all end up going, is in those movers that we've seen previously. I mean, what's Bitcoin doing? That should be up as well. I'm not going to go to that chart.
That's okay. I'll take care of that here for you. So Bitcoin 13, it is up from yesterday, but it's actually sideways here today, if that matters at all. Bitcoin futures price just shy of 64K.
Yeah, look at the Velo coming back up through VWAP now.
Yep.
So we're getting a little bit of recovery after that selling. Would like to see more volume expansion. When we don't get enough volume, I get a little concerned that we're going to see sellers step in and be like, oh, hey, higher prices. Yoink. So
I'll tell you what, how were the ads? Who was adding at this thing in the 9 handle like I was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
9, 8. Yep.
This is a good mover. This is a really good find. Stock loves to move.
I mean, they're sending Starship up. They're using SpaceX is using their machines to 3D print rocket components that take the Starship and basically the space theme into the outer limits. And
they're also going to do this with Andril when that is on. Really quickly here, folks, the bot is long Broadcom here. The bot bought Broadcom at 411, actually got filled at 411.33. Its target is 422. So we'll see what the bot does here with Broadcom, looking for a bust higher here. Let's see, Amex, this was one of our movers from earlier. This is still holding its 15 EMA, but boy, oh boy, it is struggling to get back above the VWAP. The value I have for that is 598. We can just call that 6.
That's a nice mention, Integris, ENTG. This one had earnings, and looks like this is in the semiconductor industry in the capacity that they provide purification solutions and advanced materials. So to me, I think they're referring to the high purity acid, high purity water that are absolutely necessary for getting the to be able to make the highest yielding chips. I'm sorry, the smallest chips with the highest yields. So very, very important company here. get much smaller yields if you're not using the most absolutely purest water and acid.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, for ENTG here, I'll look at it on a bigger chart here, but it sure seems like 138.30 is the spot that it needs to get through. Let me take a look at the bigger charts. This is not one that I chart very often. 138, yeah, boy, and I'll tell you what, boy, the 100-day moving average is right there at almost 138 exactly. Volume point of control, 138.60. So this area that it's at right now, this is going to be an important area for it to take out. Honorable mention there, 50-day moving average at 143 and a quarter.
That 500-day in combination with the 100 to 105 area, which was, big time support. I mean, you just got to look to the left and you can see how important that $100 area is. Great reversal off that area. Nice recapture of the 200. We're in between the 50 and the 20-day SMA right now, but I don't remember. I know you just said what the next resistance is, but from here, after that 50-day SMA, it's 150 for me.
Okay, so 150. Let's take a look and see where that is on the chart here. Here it is. Here's 150. You know what, dude? This is as clean as it gets. 150, very clearly a spot from those previous candles. No question.
Yeah, great mention. I like this one.
Yeah, this was a good mention. Not one that we look at often. SPY, by the way, more new highs as we continue to ride higher here. The bot didn't take any of the 0 DTE trades, but boy, oh boy, those buy entries have seemingly all worked so far. We continue to scream to the highs, and it's not just the SPY. NASDAQ is also at the highs. Dow pulled off of the highs, but is still curling back up. Let's take a quick look here at Palantir, 153.80. We're doing an all right job holding higher. We talked about Snap a little bit earlier. I asked the chat if I was a boomer because Snap apparently is growing. I don't get it. Snap here above the pre-market highs. This trying to move more as well. G-Man mentioning that Microsoft is on fire. Let's take a look here at Microsoft. Microsoft straight up out of the gate. We are above yesterday's high. Giddy up on Microsoft. 500 coming here on Microsoft. What a move this thing has made, too, these last several days. Holy smokes.
Yeah, this is coming into a major resistance area. Actually, we're approaching some of the area where we were trying to find support when we double topped. So we could be at a big resistance area right now. And just look how overbought this thing is on the daily chart. I own this, so I hate to complain, but with the move up that we've had and the resistance that we're coming into, I think I'd be a little bit concerned about there being some profit taking. But if that happens, I think we're going to be okay with support around 465. So I would like to see this cool off, and if we get that, I want to see it. I want to see 465 hold up.
Okay. All right, good stuff there on Microsoft. Oh, these were some big. Okay, big call by. Oh no, that's a closing order. Never mind. That's a closing order on NTAP. Also, might be a closing order on GLW. I don't know. Maybe this is a closing. Maybe this is sold put. I don't know. Big option transaction here on Corning, ticker GLW. Is the 200 puts for September. I wonder if this is.
What? Watch AMX, AMIX.
I'm not sure what to make of that. GLW, big put transaction, the 200 puts. Let's put AMEX on screen here, 13.
Yeah, we've been getting some support, so I'm just watching for expanded volume. And if we get that, we could get this move up to maybe even through VWAP.
Here we go on AMEX. I'll leave this on screen. This is setting up to go.
So we'll see if we just get this expanded volume here.
AMEX 598 is the spot that it's got to bust through. I'll keep an eye on the unusual option scanner here as well. Let's see anything in the Twitter streets that's interesting. Apple's trading back up. The VIX is also trading back up a little bit. That's at 1672 now. Corey saying a danger. If anyone holds Bitcoin in cold storage with Cold Card, transfer your Bitcoin immediately because your Bitcoin is at risk. Cold Card was just hacked. Interesting. Lion, take care of yourself. Have a great day.
Yeah, take care, Line. Wasn't there something that was mentioned during happy hour about that earlier this week?
About a hack? I don't
yesterday?
remember what it was, if it was.
Okay. I thought I heard something about that. It may not have been there, but I thought that's where I heard it. Or it was over the weekend? Okay. Yeah, I thought I had heard something about that, and I'm not sure if that was from happy hour or where I heard it.
Okay, that was over the weekend. Okay.
We've got a seller in Amex stacked up. Oh, he just got taken out, but we're still kind of hanging around the 580s. Just need to see that if we just get some more volume, I think we're up and through the VWAP here. But that's to me, that's the component we're missing. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Amex through the VWAP.
Well, it just tapped it for me.
I have it at 598. I have a nice little move through it right there.
Yeah, we just went right to it, and now we're trying to push through it. I like it when stuff like this works. Just needed that volume expansion. So we did get that move up to VWAP. It's pulling a little bit here. I'm not shy to take gains, but it might not be finished either. Need to see some more expansion. All right. Maybe we get this current move if we can get through this seller at 640. There we go. And we could still maybe get up into the 7.5 area where we were running into trouble earlier out of the gate. Now, at this particular juncture, I'd like to see the price hold above VWAP. And if we continue to hold above VWAP, there's another potential for it to go even higher. Going to 7 or 650.95. That's what I'm looking at next. But I think we need to see this this VWAP hold. Just need to see the VWAP hold. Got a couple minutes left in this current candle. Great stuff.
Yeah, nice call there on Amex and a nice move there on Amex too. By the way, whoever was asking about now earlier, seeing some now calls go off, these are 120 calls. So again, that key level that we identified looks like traders are hoping to move now through that 120 area. We saw a whole bunch of NVIDIA call sweeps yesterday. I am seeing some NVIDIA puts here today. That tried to go but couldn't. So we'll see if that firms up at all. Got a couple of junky penny stocks at the top of the movers list here. What else we have? ARM. Look at ARM. What a move here on ARM. New highs.
Let's see. Oh, we're back up at the 20-day SMA. Be nice to get through that. To me, if we do get through the 20-day SMA, the next big resistance I see is right at 300.
And this is on ARM. Let me go to the bigger chart. We'll chart that together here.
Yep. I think it's pretty easy to see why that is. Well, not on a 5-minute, but on a day.
Yep. Just trying to. Okay, you said 300 was next, right?
Yeah. After this
20-day
SMA resistance.
Yes. Look at 300. 300 previous top, multiple previous bottoms. Yeah, this absolutely 13. I would agree. 300 is going to be a key spot for this. If it can move through that 20-day.
Amex still looking good. Has another big seller on the way at 652.
Let me go back to the main workspace here.
They're hitting that seller right now.
Yeah,
volume's starting to look. It's improving. We just deleted him, and here we go.
All right. Let me know when I can give out the Amex registering. Not in this myself.
I think if we get to 7, just hand it out.
Just hand it out?
Just hand it out. If we get to 7, just hand it out.
We talked about 7 being a level from earlier, so that tracks with what we were already kind of charting earlier.
Yep, you are getting some sellers, but it still looks like we're trying to push the upside. I think. It's still great that we even got through VWAP, but I'd say if we hit 7, that's kind of the target right now.
Okay. Izzy mentioning Amazon had a huge reversal here today. Here's what Amazon looks like. So this is actually a little bit weaker in the pre-market, basically back to where we closed yesterday, or to where the after hours closed. Amazon still down 1.3%, but this is a good turnaround so far. SPY continues to rip. Boy, oh boy, I tell you what, look at the SPY chart. Let me bring this up here. This is just nothing but highs. The option contracts look insane. SPY 765 on this new all-time high breakout here today.
That is a wild. SPY pushing morals. And Amex still having a hard time with that 650 area, but it's holding VWAP. Oh.
Producer, did we get the poll results? And is the poll still open? Is it closed? Do we have results? What's the status of the poll? Let me actually just go check myself because I actually wanted to vote in that one. It is still open. Beautiful. That gives me time to go vote in it, which means everyone else, go vote in our poll, please. It is on SpaceX's earnings tonight. What to expect?
Amex dropped beneath VWAP. It's still trying to hold 6. Couldn't get any higher than 678 on this move up through VWAP that we just had. So no 7 yet. And if we can't get back above VWAP, we might not see 7 for a little while, and maybe even the rest of the morning.
See what we get here on Amex. I'll close the poll in 8 minutes. Thank you, producer. And let me know what those results are. I'll read them to the group. I'm curious on this one. SPY is still pushing higher here. So is the NASDAQ. SPY 765.27 now. Oh, my heavens.
Yeah, the TQQQ has been insane over yesterday and today.
Yeah, Westcap here says, best start of the month. Thanks, TQQQ.
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like. Palantir 156. Rumors has it SpaceX high on report. What do you mean by that? SpaceX is going to go higher after the report. We see the highs after the report. What exactly do you mean by that on SpaceX? Market is still pumping here.
I mean, I still think we're going to see 120. I still think that's a resistance area. If we do manage past that, you have the 20-day SMA at just under 125. I've been saying every $5, there's another resistance area. So, we'll see what ends up happening here. But even if the earnings are good and we do get a lift, I get the sense that we're still going to see some downward pressure as more shares unlock, as more share dilution occurs through the use of shares to purchase other companies like AnySphere. But I think what's going to really get the stock going wild is if we manage to do if it's successful at their next test flight 14, because they are planning on catching the Starship with the tower. That
would be something else.
It'll be the first time they try it.
Now, let me ask you, if that doesn't work, do you think there will be an outsized reaction to it, even though this is the first time they're trying something significant? I mean, to me, that's par for the course.
Well, when we say if it doesn't work, you kind of got to look at what's all the possibilities of not working looking like. So does not work means they realize as it was approaching that they wouldn't be able to do it and they had to ditch it in the ocean. That wouldn't be as bad as, let's say, them trying to catch it and it destroys the tower in the process. That would be very bad.
Okay. Gotcha. So it really depends what actually happens, not whether or not it's got it. Okay.
Right. So yeah, because that was one of the concerns when they were trying to catch the booster is, if things don't go right, are they going to have enough time to ditch it into the ocean or away from the launch pad? And fortunately, they were successful. Plenty of tests have been conducted with the Starship. So it's looking pretty good, like they're going to be able to catch this thing. But there's always just that big question mark for the first time. Will that increase sales? What it will do is it will lower costs. That's the whole point of this whole catching the booster and Starship is the lowering the cost of reusability. And when you do lower that cost, you open up accessibility for smaller businesses to be able to use space-related services. So it eventually will increase sales. Eventually.
Yeah, whole premise of that is to bring down the per kilogram cost of bringing things to space.
Yep.
That's how all of this data center stuff is even going to be possible until they get that figured out.
Amex holding VWAP. Watch for more volume expansion that takes us up to 7. Move trying to hold at 65 EMA.
Yep.
Looks like we're just kind of going sideways in some of these names that were popping and dropping.
All right, 13, I'm going to step away for one quick sec to go to the washroom before we bring Anne-Marie back on in just about 10 minutes. BRB.
Okay. Well, let's see what else is looking good. It seems like there's been a bit of a slowdown here in all the price action with some of these, but still keeping an eye on AMIX. Let's see if we can, we just lost VWAP. This last VWAP is still holding this trend line from all the lower price action. If we lose that, then we're probably headed to the 65 EMA. You have the trend line, you have 520, and then the 65 EMA is your support levels to the downside from here. And what else is looking all right? Just a lot of sideways action for the moment. QCOM up, I'm very positive on all of space. Yes, I am, because it's kind of like this. There's a lot of things we have to consider here on planet Earth. People live here. We grow our food here. We have limited resources here. There's limits to things we have on Earth. There's really no limit to things that we can find out in space. So it's a whole industry out there. If we can, expand our, orbital infrastructure to create more of an economy in space, I think that that's going to be the landscape that drives sales further for a lot of these technology companies. We only have a finite amount of copper and gold and silver, but out there's more of it. Same thing with iron, and it's very costly and dirty to get this stuff out of our Earth. Whereas out there, no one's going to care. No one's going to give you any regulatory problems.
No NIMBY out in space, buddy.
No NIMBY out in space. Maybe just in our immediate Earth's orbit, with all the satellite junk and the satellite graveyards. But beyond that, in the asteroid belt, no one can hear you complain.
Good stuff there. By the way, the bot did stop out of that Broadcom trade, so it did take a loss. We're operating in the red now, but nonetheless, stops are working, plans are working, things are working. That's what we're hoping to see here.
Bank of America all-time high. They are also they are also a SpaceX holder. They're one of the two big holders, them and Google.
Big bees, 100% on Microsoft calls. Time to take a nap. Boy, if you're taking a nap at 10 o'clock in the morning, you must have done something right. So good stuff there, big bees.
Trevor, it's cheaper to do a lot of different things here on Earth, but there's also that whole ecosystem risk that I was just talking about. We do need to have some measure of control over what we drop into our oceans and how we affect the acidity and the balance of fresh and saltwater ratios. Everything about mining here on Earth is certainly going to be cheaper, or in the ocean. But as I was saying, it's the only thing we've got. Resources are finite here, and out there it's limitless. So it might be cheaper, yes, but technically it's also dirtier.
Demoralization saying was grabbing 10 SpaceX as it hit 104 again. So you were adding a little bit lower. Let me ask you, what would you do if it broke 100 to the downside? Would you be looking to add more? What price? Let me know what would happen if it broke 100 to the downside. Golden Brown, 300% Palantir calls done for the day. That's a good day, buddy. that is a good day. We will take that here from our community.
Space exploration and mining. It's interesting because there are a lot of different. I say a lot like there's dozens of them, but there's a number of companies out there that are already startups that have been developing technology for space mining. And I actually believe that as we go on with this, with SpaceX, and it continues to trade on this market, we might even see it later this year or early next year. I think there could be a bit of a SPAC craze when it comes to space-related names. I think we could see some a lot of that start to happen again, because we're going to need them. And the best way to bring these names to market that are already getting some pipe investment is to either have them IPO or special acquisition. And I think given how lucrative special acquisitions can be, it might be the way that you see a lot of these space mining names get brought to market.
That might mean there might be an kind of a volatile early life for some of these space mining public names, but that's very interesting. Real quick, the poll results are in. The question was: SpaceX reports earnings today by 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Where will the stock trade? You had three choices: lower, higher, or stays the same. Lower wins with 52% of the vote. 35% of you think higher, and 13% of you say stay the same. Good participation there on the poll as well. Thank you, folks, for voting in that. We really appreciate it. Let's see what SpaceX gives us later today. Take care of yourself, Richard Judge. Thank you for everything, as always. How's Amex shaping up here? Okay, so I've got the VWAP here at 602 now on Amex, so it looks like we're kind of gearing up to maybe move through that right now. Also, 13, how do you feel about a trend line connecting the two highs on Amex from the intraday session alone? Feel like we got to break out of this trend if we're going to go back towards those pre-market highs.
Trend line from that session high into the high right after that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for like a near-term break. And you know what? Let me redraw my line a little bit more accurately. There you go.
I'd say that you kind of have more of a triangle happening here. Okay. If you do the lows is the same way, you got a bit of a symmetrical triangle. So I would say that there's like a possibility this goes in either direction out of this triangle. Okay,
and remember, that's interesting because remember the first stock that we had, what was the ticker on that? Had that same symmetrical triangle. It was Move, right? Yeah, it was Move.
You don't need water to put data centers in space. Water is part of the cooling process, and there's many different ways you could do that. Also, there's no moisture in space, so you wouldn't need to dehumidify. But they do have ice in space that could be captured as well. But the way the data center thing in space is going to work is going to be not just massive, huge, constructs in space that house all these data centers. It's going to be thousands of smaller satellites working together. Amex, coming back up to the trend line. I'm sorry, not trend line, the VWAP.
That's my fault. I'm a little bit slow here. Here is Amex. We've already got it on screen.
There will be other solutions on how to keep the heat generator from processors cool in space.
Amex is gearing, guys. This is through the VWAP now. Next is the trend line. And I'm like rubbing my eyes to make sure that I'm not in banana land or fantasy land or whatever you want to call it. I almost can't believe this. IDAI is still at the highs. It has not broken down. I am liking this. Now, there was another interesting comment. We didn't talk about this on the show yesterday. We did talk about it in happy hour. Visa made an acquisition yesterday that is extremely bullish for what IDAI does. Let me see if I can find this here for you. We'll talk about it a little bit. This, beg your pardon, I think this was over the weekend. They announced it yesterday, but I think the deal was probably consummated over the weekend. Visa announces a $2.4 billion all-cash acquisition of fraud intelligence firm Biocatch. So this wasn't a public company, but this is in the exact same sector that IDAI is in, and Visa spent $2.4 billion on it. Got to think that's going to be good for IDAI going forward.
I was asked about Clorox.
CLX?
Yeah, it's, I wasn't particularly looking anything special to happen with this company. I just thought that it was, pretty attractively priced. It's, coming off of some, historical lows, and the dividend was really good. So I thought, hey, this is a company where people are going to always need to be disinfecting stuff. If we want to maintain sanitary conditions. This is one of the biggest companies that is out there, and I thought it was worth picking it up for the dividend. So I'm an owner, and if this continues to climb up off its multi-year lows, great. I just thought it was a great. I'm not looking to trade this. This is a buy and hold.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like more of like a long-term buy. Okay, 13 really good stuff here today. Sorry, I ran a minute over here. Any closing words for the group?
Hey, another fun day. Congratulations on Amex. If you guys took it and anything else you guys are trading. We had a nice little fun day here today, but you know what? I got to get out of the way because Anne-Marie's back. See you later, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right, 13 really good stuff. Maybe, I'm just going to throw something out here, let you cook on it a little bit. Maybe we have you join with Anne-Marie on Friday for that segment so we can keep you on here. We'll see.
If that's what you guys want. I don't want to take any time away from her.
No, I don't think she's worried about that at all. But 13, you're the best. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow and on Happy Hour tonight.
See ya.
All right, that is 13, folks. We told you he'd be coming. We told you he'd be coming back. No big deal. Let's go ahead and bring back Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, welcome back for the second time here today.
Howdy.
How's everything going?
Good. I mean, wow, what a run.
What a run indeed.
What a run.
You want to share your screen? We can go ahead and give out some options trades here.
My apologies. So, I've got AAOI. It's going to report in a couple of days.
Okay.
Now, we know this field of photonics is kind of a big deal. And side note, I would love to be able to pick 13's brain in spaces. If he was up for it, we could drive right into those because he's got such a broad.
I know.
I mean, his knowledge base is so wide. I would just love to dig in and talk to him about some of those spaces, and photonics is definitely one of them.
Okay, so let's do this. So first of all, thank you for saying that. Let's do this. Let's plan maybe for your segment on Friday. Let's keep 13 around. That way we can maybe come up with another idea. We can dive into some of the different analysis there, and all those very nice things that you said about him. That's why we bring him on here. He's great. He's an exceptional researcher as well. So okay, great. That'll be the plan for Friday.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, so let's look at applied optoelectron. Good grief, is that a big fat name? So my suspicion is that it's running on the heels of Corning, because we're seeing all of the photonics sort of things move along. PLAB is one of my favorite little companies to have. It's sort of a slow grinder, but I do love them. And so this AAOI reporting in just a couple of days could be very interesting. Now, here's the thing. We're sitting in a space where everybody's just feeling the warm glow of higher prices, and we're just running straight into them going, it's fantastic. And often we do have ourselves a little shakeup around those spaces. That being said, what we notice about AAOI is that in this move for this week starting, we've broken up above downward trending formations, but we've got that linear regression curve starting to change shape. And so that's telling us that our pullbacks could easily find a floor in the space. So what might that be? It might be a dip buying formation. If this chart gives us room, we want to see if they guide to the north. That would be very interesting. We want to see how much money they're making. Also very interesting, but again, the place to pick 13's brain in terms of let's see what's happening in the price action overall, and whether they have guided or revised earnings, because earnings revisions are going to be great. We know Palantir is running really hot because it's had not only good blowout earnings, it revised guidance to the upside. And so having earnings revisions like that are great. So two things we can do here with AAOI. First is, I'm going to say it, if you're kind of like an Eeyore, I'm going to say some days I am very Eeyore-ish in the market, and you're thinking to yourself, I hear you, but what about a fade that brings the chart in this earnings space? And why not use a butterfly? Oops, 15. Sorry, it needs to be 85. Let's move that up. It's expensive because the vol is so high. And if you're thinking, here's something super important that I like to look at. The 30-day ATR is $14. That means in an average day, you're going to see this price move up $14, down $14. And of course, we know there's always a band around that. That's usually about 2 ATR wide in general. Some of them, of course, are much wider. Some of them are not nearly as wide, which gives us that space. But the chart's already moved up more than it normally moves on average in a day. For a week, however, particularly an earnings week, we always look at that outsized number, and the weighted ATR is $40. So that's for the average week of motion. So it's already moved about half that amount. If we take a look at this and we really are thinking to ourselves, all right, how can I capitalize big if the move is solid? And you could buy a call butterfly and a put butterfly. The two of them together would cost you about $4, but this is easily primed to move. It's got a tremendous amount of vol. The volatility, the market makers are predicting a $20 move, but the implied volatility is, at the minimum, it's $25, and into our formation at the end of the month, it's $38, which is very close to the implied expected move. So this, to me, looks like the cleaner two-way bet to go after something if you're thinking long or if you're thinking short. If you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to do either of those things, but I'm interested in capitalizing on volatility, there is a lot of premium that could be had in here. And you can go 165 to 170. A $5 spread is carrying $1.30 of premium, and it's well outside of the ranges. It's $40 outside where price is right now, which is more than we're looking at over the overall. So if you're looking for something I don't really care which way it goes. I'm just going to look at those deep edges and I'm going to take it there. Here's the great thing about this iron condor. If it does push down into those lower levels, it's going to be a great place to consider positioning to the long side in this name, because it's got a lot of updraft, and really, I mean, it's done really well since February. It's done really well, and it's given itself a round trip. And now all the buyers that were here at February earnings just came in and said, you know what? I'm buying some more. And that feels like a little bit of conviction.
Okay. So this looks like this might turn around then. That's kind of what I take from this. This had a nice little reset and it might just turn around here. Okay. So real quick, 13 did agree to come on Friday. So I think that's going to be the plan here. Can we do him a big favor? Can we take a look at EU, which is clear secure? This has an angle here for security, identity verification. This has actually been a pretty good winner for our group as it is. And it's interesting right now because the chart's kind of going sideways here. We have earnings tomorrow before the market opens, FYI. But let me know what you see here in YOU.
Okay, so on the monthly chart, it's at the top of its range. It broke out and it's now retesting the environment. Overall, if we use this linear regression curve and we understand how to use it, use a simple moving average to help you remember relative trend, and it's been moving up. So dips are going to give you short-term action that will deliver likely buying zones. So technically speaking, it's got a pretty good updraft sitting that's possible. The earnings before last have been tested, but interestingly, we still sit in the last earnings cycle, right? So how well the traders have, again, we want to see if they've got any earnings revisions, but how well the traders respond to this sitting inside of two earnings events could be something that says, hey, maybe they're waiting for a few more contracts to sign, maybe something else that they're looking for. These big red candles that I have are ATR candles. They usually occur around earnings events, but when they occur outside of earnings events, we know that there's either some kind of intraday volatility or price action motion that says, hey, you better watch to see if we hold the lows or the highs. At this juncture, the floor of support, we want to see how we do at 50. And if we like what these guys are doing overall from a security space, irrespective, let's take a peek at what the fundamentals look like over here just for a quick second. Oh my, Schwab has it as a B. That's shocking. So, it's a little bit of a mixed bag here, but it's not terrible. And so dips very likely to be buys. It's sitting in a range that really looks pretty good. You could say, you know what, I'm going to wait for earnings, and if it fades, I'm going to be in great shape. If it bounces, because it's sitting in this tight pocket, it's got to get up over 62 and then retest. My thought is if something crazy happens and it's got some big upside motion, it's very likely to fade. Vol is pretty high. Let's see where the put wall and the call walls are for August. A lot of call participation between 40. Oh, these guys have had some kind of split.
Yeah, 49. Let me figure out. I think you're right on that. Let me try and figure out when that is here.
Yeah, you can always tell from what the option strikes are.
You know what? I don't have any split on the calendar for that. Interesting.
Yeah, something's happened where they've recalibrated the stock. So now we've got this 0.8. Did that dividend? In any case, we've got this 49.80 and then 54.80. So there's still $5 apart here from these two. And so that's a spread that you can look at and go, oh, that's pretty interesting. I might be able to look at that. You could also do something because these are very close to each other. If you're very bullish, you could actually do a long back ratio instead of a short back ratio. It's expensive. It's $7, but if it does nothing or fades and then moves up, you've still got motion. I don't know that that's the ideal thing to look at there. If we've got upside pressure that you're thinking of and you want to follow these guys because it's got trend that's sort of holding the floor. Look at how many days it's done that. Literally, it's been sitting here for a while. So my suspicion, if we make higher lows like we've got, or testing these lows, and then we have a big volume higher, a candle higher that tests higher and pulls back to a higher low like the one we're seeing, looks like upside. So you easily could say, they're looking at a $9 move from terms of volatility. What's the ATR? The ATR is 2, so definitely outsized from the motion. So if you're thinking, hey, it's going to move 5 and we're already at 54, you could do a 54.59 call spread, or you could do, that doesn't give us enough credit, or you could do a butterfly at the edge and it's 65 cents. Here's the problem. It's got to stop at that 59 area, and that's about, that's only about $5 away, and they're calling for, they've priced $9 into the volatility. So that might be something certainly to consider. If you're thinking, hey, these guys are going to run, you pick the spread below and you buy that butterfly. It's essentially the same price, but notice the difference in delta. The delta is almost twice as much. And I believe that that's the case because of the size of the expected move that they are looking at. So might not be a bad idea to choose that higher delta if you are so inclined. As you know, my thought is always, I don't want to roll the dice into the earnings number. I want to wait for it to come out. Give me a print that I can analyze, and then after that, I get to choose forward motion. But that's just my style.
Okay. Two quick questions here. My first question is, are you more apt to take a butterfly because it has a low cost basis when the chart is just sideways like that? That's number one.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense why you went that way. I was just wondering for myself. And then 13 here says, I was curious what the options showed because I believe we will hear and see about increased subscriptions from the World Cup, which just took place here. They use some of their security at the venues. So we're wondering here if maybe increased subscriptions are going to drive this higher from this print. That obviously the chart's not going to tell you that, but we'll see if that's the case.
So interesting. That question now comes back, is that it's just this one-time thing. And can we count on it next year for them to renew?
Well, don't we have the Olympics coming?
Yeah, I guess
so. Part of me wonders if this is proof of concept. If we do see a bump from the World Cup, might we be able to expect something similar when the Olympics make their way to LA? Look, I'm just giving you hypotheticals here, but that's one of the things we're thinking about.
Now, if that's something that you're looking at, quick note, it would be better to push price action out and say, hey, let me see if I can get something cheap. What is the 35.58? You could get, a deep in the money call spread, just like you're buying the stock, right? You pay instead of $1,200, you pay $1,200 here instead of $5,400 here buying 100 shares. It's protected from the downside flow. And the more the price action moves up, you just buy this call back and sell the one under it, and buy that call back and sell the one under it. And you end up making a gigantic spread while you've got that deep in the money call. If you're thinking about long-term motion and what you want to see, these deep in the money calls, the call spreads give you a lot of room to navigate in the future. You could also do the poor man's covered call, which is buy that deep in the money forward strike, or an at the money forward strike, but then instead you move into September or November and you just start selling it, right? And so literally you have it at 55, but you're selling the forward month, and every month it expires, you sell a new one, and it starts behaving just like a stock. That's why they called it the poor man's covered call.
Got it. Okay. All right. Really good stuff there on U13. I hope that was helpful. Anne-Marie, we've got 8 minutes. I think we got time for another one here if you want.
Sure. Why don't we look at Snap? Since, listen, I go into Snapchat because of my grandchildren.
Okay.
And that's the only place I go. We
So,
make
Anne-Marie,
funny faces together, and that's it.
I was asking earlier if I'm a boomer because I didn't
heard that.
realize that people still use Snapchat.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. A lot of parents don't like Snapchats because snaps disappear after a particular period of time, I think. And so if you are really trying to help your children make good decisions about what they do, and you want to be careful about who they talk to, I think Snapchat's one of those things. But the demographic that you mentioned was shocking to me, that people over 35 are using Snapchat regularly.
I couldn't believe it.
Either. I was like, what? I obviously am busier than many of those 35-year-olds. I just cannot.
I'm happy to say that I am too.
Good grief. Okay, so if we take a look at this, it's a nice cheap stock. It's got a ton of volatility. Using options here, I don't love it. There's not a ton of upside there, but it is, if you want to think about, all right, well, what's this chart really been doing? Let's take a look. When you take a look at the monthly, you're like, oh, okay, I remember. So this, look at the high. Peak pandemic, right? Peak pandemic high. And then just falls off a cliff. I love it that your bot's running. I think that's awesome. But for this chart to do anything meaningful, it simply has got to get up above a minimum of 12. Otherwise, it's just like fishing in a carp pond. For those of you who are fishermen with me, that's not a place that you go. You just don't want to go there. So that's my suspicion. Now, if you want to trade it intraday and you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a second, I can do some leverage. That's 14% move today. I'd like to do something like that. There's a lot of room for you, particularly to use the VWAP, perfect bounce off of that space, and then a run up into near-term pivots. That'll give you good flow. But other than that, not one that I look. But it was a low-priced one. Everybody was talking about it. I went, all right, let's have a look. Okay, 5 minutes.
Still have time for another one.
Yeah. So do we want to do do we want to position something post earnings with Palantir?
Well, Palantir's just, I feel like 160 here. I mean, it's run 27% here. I mean, I guess unless you're looking for a regression back to the mean.
Well, you could, or something forward, and instead of because look at from a daily perspective, it's well over its ATR. For the weekly perspective, right? The ATR is like 8, and the weekly perspective is 30. And so it's run right over what it would normally move in a week. It's moved in just this morning. So the good thing might be, hey, set an alert for 165, see if it rejects tomorrow morning. If it rejects tomorrow morning and starts pulling back in, it's got flow into the high volume candlesticks near the 150 breakout. So there's a lot of room there. But if you're saying, listen, Palantir's been good to me, I want to buy it, then, do a calendar spread. Say to yourself, okay, let's see where all the traders are sitting in here. Do a calendar spread and say, let's see, where 7,000 of them are sitting at the 200 marker. You sell the September and maybe you want to buy the December. Let's see how much difference there is going to be in price. So you don't want to do a diagonal, you just make it flat out. The September 200 call, whoa, that's a big difference. And the December 200 call, it's going to cost you about $790. But here's the thing. As long as Palantir continues to move up, you can say to yourself, when this rolls around, let's say Palantir keeps running into this September space and you think it's going to move, you can just roll that calendar spread right down. You can buy back your 200 call. You can sell the 200 call in December and then buy back another one in June. And what it does is keep you positioned in a space where you've got upside flow. The next thing to do is, hey, if it fades and it comes back into 134 and you think the price action is going to take you into forward motion and you're saying, hey, I love Palantir. We know people that absolutely love this stock,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
And so you could say, hey, I'm going to do the December 27 and the September 27 or June 27, and it'll be, you kick it down the street, you got 200 to go, and you can always sell and rotate that around it. So there's a lot to do with Palantir, even as it moves up. What did I do? Because I own Palantir, I have short puts at the 100, made a ton of money when it moved up. I took that short 100 put spread, I bought it back and I sold it again 6 months later. So made a profit.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
That's exactly right. It's the name of the game.
Okay. Anne-Marie, look, really awesome stuff here today from start to finish. Can't thank you enough for jumping on and holding the fort down until 13 showed up. Excellent stuff with options as per usual. I look forward to Friday where we bring on you and 13 for a group discussion here. Where my producer named that the Super Squad.
Oh,
so
nice.
If you hear that getting thrown around, at least you'll know where it comes from. Anne-Marie, really great stuff here today. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll catch you next time, okay?
You too. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, really good stuff here. It is SpaceX and AMD earnings day. We'll see how it goes. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Take care, everybody.